we're just finishing setting up for horizontal. All right, and we should be all set. Let's get rid of that for now. Howdy, howdy. I hope everybody's having a good day. We did just start, so let's let people trickle in. You guys know the rules. You guys know the drill. Oh, I need to connect the... TikTok socket. All right, TikTok socket is connected. Should be all set. Howdy, howdy. That's a lot of shares. A lot of shares, Beardsley. Wait, did I get the titles wrong? No, the titles are right. Okay. So we'll let people trickle in. Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody's having a good day. Up the guest box. Should be good. Oh, you know you're old that when you yawn, you pull something. No, I shouldn't be muted. Well, currently, Burger like 30. I know, I'm 32. I just need to stretch more. Like, that's what it boils down to. I promised myself that I would start doing it again. I would start stretching again, and so on, after my wife gets back, and she gets back today, so. Or when a sneeze is devastating all over your body. Yeah, tell me about it. Who thinks the Earth is 6,000 years old? You would be surprised. There are a lot more people than you'd think. What's up with this science crew this find out? Oh, not a whole lot. Love the last Flat Earth live. Keep it up. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. That's fake nose and glasses. It's not. See? What does your wife do? She has a law degree. Do I have tenure? No, I don't. How old is the Earth? It's about 4.5 billion years old. The church didn't lie about science. They didn't teach in church. Well, look, so the kinds of people who will join this live stream, those people's churches did lie about science. That's the issue. 4.54 plus or minus 50 million years is where the number is right now. Oh. Will we be able to see further back into the Big Bang with a neutrino detector? Yeah, in principle. Are you a professor at a university? No. No, I am not. Who said Earth was created in 6,000 years? It's not that it was created in 6,000 years, it's that it is 6,000 years old. And lots of people think that. Are you a scientist? I am, yeah. I think they already did one scientist versus 20 science deniers, didn't they? But they would never call themselves science deniers. That's the issue. Anyway, y'all, remember to like the live. We can get this sent out to more people. Usually we get quite a few bites on this topic, but, you know, we'll do what we can. And, yeah, we'll just give it a few minutes. If things don't, if people don't trickle in, that's fine. We can always change topics if we need to. Oh, you're rage baiting? Well, I don't think that this is rage baiting. Unless you think that the Earth is 6,000 years old, then it might be rage baiting. How close are we to obtaining faster than light travel? We're not. All right, we have our first guest. Let's bring him up. Jonathan Majors.
Well, I am not in the opposition. I just have a general question. You kick me if you're not good with that.
I'm not okay with that. We have Plantinga. Plantinga, how's it going? Oh, where'd he go? Oh, he disappeared. Bummer. Heck, we have evidence of human civilization older than 6,000 years old. That we absolutely do. Which is like, of course we do. It doesn't just stop. No, the emitter would have to be 43 kilometers above the Earth. The emitter would have to be 43 kilometers above the Earth, not the detector. If I said detector, then I just misspoke. Or yeah, you could equivalently say that the Minos detector would have to be 43 kilometers below the Earth. Randy with the $2, 0 plus 0 equals 0, something didn't come from nothing. Well, thank you for the $2, Randy, but I don't know anybody who thinks that something did come from nothing. Let's read this comment. I'm going to be honest, for someone who has a PhD, you're not the brightest when it comes to emotion in. Is there a follow-up? It doesn't look like there's a follow-up. No, there is no follow-up. That's a bummer. I wanted to hear the rest of the sentence. Oh well. Anyway, y'all, we'll let people trickle in. 0 to the 0 equals 1. Explain that, theist. False. 0 to the 0 is undefined. Yeah, we appreciate a hate watcher who sends money. Any proof life came from non-life? Well, we're made of non-life, right? Atoms are not life. We're made of that. I don't think that's proof, but it's at least pretty compelling. Think you're rage baiting? If I was rage baiting, then I would be meaner. What are your thoughts on the eternal universe? Yeah, I don't think that we can rule it out. Lots of comments to go through. $5 from Neo No One. What's your take on AI in the future, good or bad? Generally, my take is something like, it's probably going to be bad. It could have been good, but we didn't take the actions that we needed to make it good. Anyway, we'll give it another minute and a half. If we don't get any bites, we'll change topics, because it seems like, you know, we've been live for almost 10 minutes and we're getting nobody. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, usually this topic's pretty active, but, you know, maybe it's just too early in the morning. Hard to say. Blitz, did you take any philosophy classes? Philosophy. Oh, we have a guest from Life of Brian. Wonder if they're a troll. Life of Brian, hey, how's it going?
How's it going, man? Just wanted to say Dr. Blitz for president.
Get out of here. Go on, get. All right, so we are going to... Can I actually change streams? Change topics midstream? Does that work? If I did this, what happens? Does it... I'm curious if it changes on YouTube as well, or if it's just broadcasting one scene. So I know that TikTok can see it. Can YouTube see it? I know it changed on TikTok. Ah, it changed on YouTube as well. Great. Okay, we can just do this topic. Cool. Easy. I do have to reposition my shoulder, though. There we go. Something like that. Easy peasy. I will have to change the titles of the live streams, but that's neither here nor there. That's fine. All right, let's talk to our first guest. Rip, how's it going?
Yo, what's good?
Do you believe in God?
Yeah, I do, actually, and I'm here to debate you on this topic exactly.
Yeah, sure. And which one do you believe in?
Well, I would rather not say it. I would rather just stick to a topic where I just make you believe in God, in the existence of God, actually.
Well, the only reason I ask is because I don't want to make any unfounded assumptions about the thing that you're talking about. So it's really, really helpful for me to know what kind of thing that you're referring to.
Oh, okay. For this topic, let's say I'm Muslim.
Okay. All right. So what would you say is your most compelling argument that you could give to someone like me?
So, I believe in odds. Do you believe in odds?
In odds? You mean like statistics?
Yeah, mathematical odds. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it means to believe in them. Like, they are a trustworthy way of
So,
figuring out what's
yeah,
likely to happen in the
well,
future.
I actually saw a video. Oh, okay, sorry. I actually saw a video of you like before that. By the way, just so you know, I love your videos. You're
I
such
appreciate
a cool guy when it comes to physics. But
So sweet.
I'm just here, to debate like another person. You said not quite a while ago that if I put my hand on the wall, there's a very minimal chance with the quantum things and atoms that my hand phases through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, what's the chance? May you remind me and the audience what that chance is?
It was like 10 to the 10 to the 35 or something like this. 1 in 10 to the 10 to the
Yeah,
35.
and you pretty much said in that video. By the way, your words. You pretty much said in that video that it's pretty much impossible. So it's close to absolute zero.
I mean, yeah, so the probability is so small that it will never happen on Earth.
Okay, nice. Well, I would like to reverse
At least
that.
you would
Do
be
you believe
reasonable in thinking
this
that it would never
world-
happen on Earth. Go ahead.
Yeah. Where were we? Oh yeah. I would like to reverse those odds. So would you say that our Sun, Earth, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, etc., is just a chance that happened?
I don't know what you mean by a chance that it happened. Like, they formed according to the laws of physics.
Yeah,
Now,
like
them
they
being the
form
way they
naturally,
are, yeah, they form naturally. But like, Earth being the size that it is, or Jupiter being the place that it is, like those things, it didn't have to be that way. That's true.
Yeah,
It could have formed in a whole bunch of different ways.
Do you believe there are? Yeah, atoms didn't have to be the smallest thing, but they are.
No, I mean like in our universe, in our galaxy even, there are a lot of different planets, a lot of different solar systems that have different configurations of
I
planets.
do understand, but like,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. But like, the necessities for living are only considered to Earth and not the remaining. Isn't that true?
Only considered to Earth and not what?
To the remaining planets, like as in the life, forming life on Earth.
Did you say the remaining planets?
Okay, sorry, my Wi-Fi is actually kind of bad. I mean, do you think that there's the chance that we are the only planet close? Like, I think I don't know what's the exact number. Sorry if I'm a little bit rusty on that. But we're the only planet that has life on it, human life.
No, I don't think so. Oh, human life? Yeah, well, yeah, human life. At least in the observable
out
universe.
Of the trillions.
I wouldn't be surprised if
out
there
of
was
the
no other
trillion
human
and
life in the
trillion.
observable universe. But that's just, I mean, like, we wouldn't call
Nice.
it
Okay.
we wouldn't call it human if it originated on another planet, right?
We can debate on that later, but I'm just like focusing on this thing. Like, how can I say it? A human life, as in a human, eyes, ears, brain, body. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the other life that is out there is not like us.
Okay. So we're the only ones. That's what basically like trying.
We're the
to
only
lead to.
humans, but that's because we evolved here
Yeah.
and we didn't evolve there. So we're going to be here and they're going
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
there.
Just
Sure.
before I continue, actually, do you believe that we came from the Big Bang, right? Just to be sure.
Not really directly. It's not like a direct
Like
through
life
line.
formed Earth, Sun. That's
Yeah, sure.
okay. If I were to tell you today, I, as a 22-year-old,
Hmm.
grabbed a bucket of paint and splashed it on the wall, and that came out as the Mona Lisa, would you believe it?
Probably not, because I know what paint does.
Yeah.
I know how paintings work and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
but let's. Yeah, of course. But if I got the paint and just
Mhm.
splashed it randomly on the wall, would you believe that I painted the Mona Lisa?
No, I already said probably not.
Yeah, exactly. So why would I have to believe that the Big Bang made the sun, the moon, the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, etc. Perfect human life, perfect human conditions.
Why do you think that
just
human
in our
life is?
Earth?
Why do you think that it was perfect for human life and not that human life was perfect for Mars and Jupiter and Earth and the sun?
Well, in my religion, we say that everything has a purpose. So
Sure,
the moon being
but the question that you're asking implies incorrect thinking, right? You're supposing that the goal of the Big Bang was to produce human life. Rather, the Big Bang was a thing, and then human life evolved on the planet in which it could evolve. It didn't evolve in other places.
well, okay, that's a great way of thinking, but no, I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about if the odds of us being on this Earth
Are you
are
talking
so slim.
specific?
They're
Are you
close to
talking?
none.
Are you talking specifically about humans?
Yeah. Specifically about humans.
Because like this is because what you're doing right now is called. Well, okay, it goes by a few names, but like the Texas sharpshooter fallacy would be one example of what you're doing. Like, look, the odds of a planet forming around a relatively warm star at this distance are like 100%, right? The odds of that happening are 100%. Now,
yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the specific needs for human life.
I'm aware. So like the odds of like having a planet in the habitable zone, given like, you know, like once the Big Bang happens, the odds of having a planet in the habitable zone in 10 billion years is at basically 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fact that it happened here and not 100 light years away is irrelevant. Of course we were going to find ourselves on the planet where there's life. We couldn't find ourselves on a planet that's not suitable for life because there wouldn't be life there.
No. I'm totally not talking about that. You went way far.
You absolutely are talking about that. Once the Big Bang has, once you've granted that the Big Bang happens, the odds that you end up with a planet that has life or is life permitting is like 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
So the odds are not low. The odds are very, very high.
For a planet to exist where humans, for a planet with
With life permitting conditions. With life permitting conditions.
Is 100%. But you're saying
it's like 100%.
that in the observable, language difference. In the observable universe, we're the only ones.
We're the only humans.
But you're also saying that it's 100%.
We're the only humans.
For
now, the odds of I would say that the odds of us being the only
the microbes will now
life-
worship God. I don't know.
Now the odds of us being the only life in the observable universe, I think that's close to zero. We have good reason now to
Human life.
believe
I
that
mean,
there-
no. I don't mean
what do you
life
mean
in general.
human?
I mean
Like-
trees.
You mean trees aren't humans? The odds of there being tree-like things on other
No,
planets also like 100%.
Human life, as in like trees, humans, brain, animals.
Trees are not
etc.
human life.
I mean that, not microbes.
Trees are not human life.
That's a different topic. They breathe, they feel, they communicate, but
wait.
different topic.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that trees are human life?
Yeah. No, part. I'm saying they're part of the human life.
Well, they're not part of human life. They're different. They're trees.
Well, you do need oxygen, right?
Yeah, we can get oxygen. Like just because we depend on trees, and really it's more algae, that doesn't mean that they are human. Human life is like a specific species.
No, I mean a part of a human life. That's what I mean.
I don't know what that means. Look, are you asking what are the odds of there being intelligent life somewhere else?
No, at all. I don't believe in aliens. That's totally different. I mean like human life, as like me.
Are you asking what are the
talking
odds
right
of
now.
there being? Are you asking what are the odds of there being intelligent life somewhere in the universe, given the Big Bang happened?
Let me simplify it.
Is that what you're trying to figure out?
I mean Earth, a different Earth. That's what I mean.
What's special about Earth?
What habiting humans, lives?
Other planets could have other intelligent things on them.
Not intelligence, humans. You're going off course.
What's special about humans? Why humans? What makes a human different from like some other intelligent alien?
Well, we carry a brain, others don't.
If they're intelligent, they would have some sort of brain equivalent. That's what intelligent means.
But you just said there isn't intelligent life outside of Earth in the observable universe.
I didn't say that.
What?
I said
you said
human.
there are no humans.
I said humans aren't the only thing that could in principle be intelligent. Humans are a specific type of life on Earth, but there could be other kinds of life on other planets that are also intelligent.
Okay, so that's let me just understand that. That's basically just from your thing. That there's no proof whatsoever.
That's the odds for you. That's what the odds say.
Oh, okay. So you believe in intelligent life?
You believe in odds,
with no
right?
reason.
You believe in odds, right?
I do actually, but I don't believe. I don't believe there's
so the
an
odds
intelligent life.
say that the odds say that there's other intelligent life elsewhere in the universe. Yeah.
We can agree and disagree, but let's stay on the topic of humans. Shall we?
What's special about humans?
Because it's the principle. God created the most sophisticated thing ever, which was our brain.
Who's to say that the brain is the most sophisticated thing ever?
Well, can you give me something else? Your brain comprehends, your brain thinks, your brain feels.
Some other more sophisticated alien brain.
Do you have that alien brain?
The odds are that it exists.
The odds are, but the odds are, if you're saying odds, right? Purely odds, that we're
you agree on the odds, right?
What?
You believe in the odds. That's what you said at the beginning.
I'm saying that you believe in the odds.
Do you believe in the odds?
I partially believe in odds.
Oh, you selectively believe in odds? Is that what you're telling me?
It's way different. Complicated, but way different.
Wait, so it's selective. So you just only believe in the odds that align with your worldview?
No, not quite. I'm not selective in anything. I believe in what I comprehend is true. So let me.
We grant that.
Make it for you. Can I like change the way of the question for you? I want to know how you think actually.
Sure.
Yeah. Why don't you believe in God? That's what I want to ask.
Well, it seems like the arguments that people are offering are generally pretty bad, and the arguments against the existence of a God are generally pretty good in my view. So, just on the weight of the evidence that's presented, both for and against, I think that the against view wins.
What do you mean by that? Please elaborate.
Which part?
The part that there are some good arguments and not so good arguments, and why don't you believe in them?
So for example, the argument that you're offering is not so good. It's an example of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. That's the argument that you're making, and so fallacious arguments are generally non-compelling. On the other hand, there are arguments of the form against the existence of a God that go something like this: if God is the creator of the entirety of the universe, including space, time, and matter, then God is the creator of time, and in particular, God cannot exist in time. Beings that cannot exist in time do not stand in causal relations to anything. Why are you limiting God? That's what I want to... Please, I'm in the middle of a sentence. Beings that do not exist in time do not stand in causal relations, and creating something is a causal relation. Therefore, God could not have created the universe. So, I mean, like, that's a pretty compelling argument in my view. That kind of atemporality implies the failure. Please, 1 sec. The kind of argument that I just laid out is a kind of argument that basically indicates that beings that exist outside of time are incapable of causing anything. And I find that pretty compelling. So yeah, I mean, like, I just gave you two examples. One example of an argument for the existence of God that's bad, and one example of an argument against the existence of God that's good. So it's things like that.
Okay, I would like to stick to another reason. So
Sure.
the reason you don't believe in God is that you believe in math and physics more than, right? So you believe that God cannot exist when time is.
Well, those two things aren't really related, but it's more of like the concept of God kind of is inconsistent with the way that we understand causation.
Why are you limiting God? Why are you limiting God
I don't know
to
what
a
you mean by
time,
limiting
a
God.
place, and
I'm
like,
explicitly not putting God in a time and a place. I'm putting God outside of those things by definition.
you're saying that God cannot exist in time.
No, I'm saying God cannot exist outside of time.
Why?
Because if he did, he wouldn't be able to cause anything.
What? Wait, that's like you saying that I cannot exist in 2D, but I live in 3D.
I don't think
Is that
that you're
correct?
understanding that. No, I don't understand at all what
You're saying
that has to do with
you're
anything.
saying God cannot live outside of time,
Right.
outside the concept of time.
Well, I mean, time is like a physical thing.
What? Okay, okay, continue.
So God can't exist. God can't exist outside of time, because if God did exist outside of time, then God would not be able to cause anything, as causes are temporal.
Wait, so you're saying that time applies to God whether he likes it or not?
I'm saying that time applies to causes. And if you're saying that God causes anything, then God can't be outside of time.
But God created time. What's your theory about that?
My
God
point
created
is
time.
that if you stipulate that God created time, then God must not exist in time, which means that God cannot cause or create anything, because that would imply being in time.
No. That's totally different. You went way far, man.
I think that you're just
saying
not
that God
following.
cannot exist outside of time if he created time, and if he created time, he cannot exist.
What I'm saying is that if God created time, then he must exist outside of time. And if God exists outside of time, then he cannot have created time.
But God is in and outside time. He created that. What do you mean by that?
I know that that's what you believe. What I'm telling you is that it's incoherent.
Let me differentiate for a little bit. Wait. Let me differentiate a little bit. When you're programming a game, for example, and you put the timer, and this timer goes on and on and on. Are you living in that timer or outside that timer?
No, I'm living in my own time.
No.
You're
programming a game.
When I'm programming a game, there's the time in the game, and then there's my time, which is not the time in the game. These are different times. Right? There's my time, which is like the time that I see on a wall.
You're outside the time of the game. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that God is outside universe time. I'm saying he's outside of time, period. Do you think that God lives in God time?
No, I believe God does whatever he wants and as he wants. So if he wants to live in time, he lives.
It's a thought terminating cliche. Have you thought about that at all, or is it just like
Don't you think?
Or have you thought about this, or are you just like asserting it because you know that you have to in order to maintain your beliefs?
No. I'm basing it on logic. That's what. Okay, that's what I am doing.
So does God exist?
If you're saying God cannot exist outside of time and in time at the same time.
Wait,
just a second.
Please.
You're saying that
you're not understanding.
Outside of time and in time at the same time.
No, okay. I'm not saying that. You're not understanding. Do you think that God stands in causal relation with anything?
Explain. I don't know what causal relation means.
So being in causal relation means that a thing is in causal relation with another thing if it is the cause of or is caused by that thing.
No. God is not.
God is not in causal relation. No. God is a causal relation is either a cause or an effect.
No, he's neither. He's the cause. He's the main cause of everything.
He's not neither. He is in causal relation with things.
No.
Because he is the cause of things.
He's not
That's what it.
At the same time.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Are you not understanding? So to be in causal relation with something.
I am. I think.
Is to be in causal relation with something is to
being
either
the effect or cause of.
Be the effect of something or be the cause of something. Doesn't have to be both. It can be one or the other. So do you think that God is in causal relation with anything?
No.
Do you think that God is in causal relation with anything?
I believe that he is above that.
Okay, so you
If you
don't
want, I
think
can
that God
elaborate on
caused
that,
any.
and
So
if
then you
you want,
don't think that God caused anything?
no, I believe God caused that.
Okay, if God caused something, then God stands in causal relation. If God caused something, then God stands in causal relation with something.
Do you mean he's dependent on that, or what?
No, he just has a causal relationship with something.
I believe God is the cause of things.
I understand, and that means that he has a causal relationship with something. In particular, in your view, with the universe.
I want to see where you go with this.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see where you go with this. Continue.
If God stands in causal relation with anything, then that means that God exists in time, as causal relations are temporal relations. Causes are either simultaneous with or prior to their effects.
So you're limiting God, who can.
I'm not limiting God. That's just what it means to be a cause.
Let me tell you something. Why are you limiting my options to two? Can he be both at the same time?
No, then it's a contradiction. He can't be in causal relation with at least one thing and also not in causal relation with anything.
Can have two electrons at the same time in different places, but God can't. The creator of that.
I'm sorry. I don't think that you're understanding quantum mechanics. No, you're just describing a true contradiction for God.
What? How?
So, are you saying, on the one hand, you're saying that God stands in causal relation with at least one thing, the universe. On the other hand, you're saying that God doesn't stand in causal relation with at least one thing.
You're limiting my options. God is above that.
This is a true dichotomy. This is a true dichotomy. This is, of course, your options are limited. Either God is something or God is not that something.
But God isn't limited. How are you telling me to limit God by two things when God isn't limited by anything?
I'm sorry. Does God exist within a logical framework? Or does God just reject true dichotomies?
It's beyond your logic and my logic.
So you're telling me God is
it's
illogical?
Beyond your logic and my logic.
So God is illogical?
No, I'm telling you that God is endless.
Is God logical?
He doesn't have a time, he doesn't have a beginning, he doesn't have a start,
logical?
He doesn't have a middle.
Is God logical? Does God
what do you mean by
exist in a
logical
framework? Does God exist in a logical framework?
Please elaborate.
Does God exist in a logical framework?
What does that mean?
As in, does God...
What does that mean? I'm telling you.
I'm answering. Does God... can God make contradictions true?
Yes.
Oh. Really?
You mean contradictions like not and yes? Wait, you mean like contradictions like the Pinocchio one?
I mean contradictions like, can God lift a rock so heavy that he... Or, sorry, can God make a rock so heavy that he can't lift it?
That is a contradiction to... Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Right.
So let me explain it by this.
So what's the answer? You said God can make contradictions true, so you should be able to answer the question.
Yeah, can I answer it in a different way? But I need your help with that.
I mean, your answers will be something like, yes, he can, because, no, he can't, because, maybe, because, or, I don't know.
No.
Those are kind of your four options here, right?
I need your help with that. I need your help. I'm not on the same education level, as you can tell, but I'm trying. Okay?
Okay, so what help do you need?
Okay. Please explain to me the difference between fourth dimensional and third dimensional. What was the difference between that?
I don't understand what this question has to do with anything. How is this going to help you answer the question?
We live in the 3D world, correct?
We live in a world with 4 dimensions of space, with 4 space-time dimensions. So there's 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time. Now, please answer the question.
Yeah. No, I'm getting up to that point. So we live in a 4-dimensional world, you're saying, with time included.
Yes.
So if I wanted to go above that, mathematically it's true.
Is that a question? What's the question? You can describe more dimensions.
I can go above.
You can absolutely describe more dimensions than 4 with mathematics. There's no issue there.
A little bit of flag. I can't hear you well. Wait, a little bit of lag. I can't hear you. Please say that again.
You can absolutely describe more than 4 dimensions with mathematics.
Perfect. Then why can't God be above those? That's
What
what
does
I'm
that
trying
have to
say.
do with my
That's
question?
What I'm trying to conclude with you.
What does that have to do with my question?
Well, your question is contradictions are limited to us humans. If we say yes
I'm sorry,
or no,
I
there's no
didn't- that's not
between,
my
there's
question.
no side up, there is no up, there is no down.
That's not my question. You said that God can make contradictions true. And so I
You
asked you a
can God
question.
create, contradictions, yeah.
And so I asked you a question. Can God create a rock so heavy that he can't lift it?
The thing is, you can't answer with yes or no because God isn't limited. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't
Look,
answer with a simple
you're
yes.
not God.
You can answer with a
You
simple
can
no.
answer with yes or
There's
no.
multiple answers for that.
You're not God. You can answer with yes or no.
No.
This is a yes
I
or no
can't answer
question.
a question about God if I'm not God.
Okay, so then your answer is I don't know.
No. It's out of. It's way different.
So your answer is I don't know.
Huh?
So your answer to the question is I don't know.
I didn't say that. I said God exists.
Can you be honest with
Beyond
me?
our thinking.
Rather than like trying
You're
to like
thinking.
rather than trying to like evade and like dodge the debate, just be honest and answer the question. Like you can say I don't know. You can say yeah, I didn't think about that. Maybe God doesn't. Maybe God can't make contradictions true. Just be honest.
No. I am being honest. Man,
No, you're not.
it's a
You're
different
dodging the
education
question.
level. I'll tell you that again.
You're dodging
But
the question. You're not being honest.
I'm not dodging the question.
You absolutely are. This is
It's
a
like,
yes or no
it's like
question.
you asking me.
This is a yes or no question, and you're
Wait,
saying
wait.
that there's a third option.
Huh?
This is a yes or no question, and you're saying that, oh, I can't
There
answer
is.
that about
No,
God.
there are multiple options.
Okay,
I'm
what's
saying,
the third
yes or
option then?
no.
What's the third option?
I'm saying the yes or no questions. What?
What's the
The
third
third option is God exists beyond those things. We created limits.
That's not an
we
answer
created
to the
limits for
question.
ourselves.
How is that an answer? How
So
does that answer my
we limit
question?
our answers by yes or no. Is God?
How does
is
that
God
answer my
yes?
question? How does any
That
of that
answers
answer
the
my
question.
question?
You're
My
saying
question.
God
Look,
can-
I want to know if
make
God can do
contradictions
this.
true.
Does
But
God have the power to
can
do this?
and cannot at the same-
Does God have the power to do it? Yes or no?
God can do anything. I will move on.
So you're
with
saying
you.
he does
For
have the
sake of
power to do
debate,
it?
I'll move on with you.
Okay,
God
so he
can do
does.
everything.
So he has the power to do it.
Yeah,
He has the power to make a rock so heavy that he can't lift it.
he has the power to do everything.
Okay, so he has this power. So hypothetically, then God could make this rock that's so heavy he can't lift it.
But you're contradicting. Wait, that's a contradiction. You're asking me a contradictory question, and I'm supposed
You're
to
right.
answer by yes or no. How is that true?
You're right. It is a contradictory question,
Yeah.
and the only reason I asked is because you said God could make contradictions true.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I asked. And if you think God can make
I
contradictions
said
true,
God
then you
can
need
do
to answer that
everything.
question.
Yeah, you're
Right.
right.
So then,
Yeah,
so,
you're right
right.
about
So,
that.
right. So imagine the hypothetical.
Yeah,
God
but-
has now constructed a rock that's so heavy even he cannot lift it. Can he lift it?
Yeah, I've heard that before. So
What's the answer?
You can continue.
What's the answer? Can he lift it?
The answer is you're thinking of a human, like you're thinking in the way the human thinks, not
I'm thinking
God.
of a God.
God, I'm trying to tell you that God exists beyond time, beyond what we think, beyond beyond
That's
what we
irrelevant. Can
understand
God
about the
lift the
universe.
rock?
God lives beyond that.
Can God lift the rock?
What? Sorry?
Can God lift the rock that he made that's so heavy he can't lift it?
God can do it. No. You're going back to the same point, man. You're going back to the same point. What I'm trying to tell you is that God lives beyond what we think as yes or no questions.
So Rip,
That's what
I'm
trying
not
to say.
going back to the same point. I'm staying at the same point and not letting you dodge your way out of it. Answer the question.
No. It's not dodging. It's not dodging if I already answered.
So can God
telling
lift
you,
it?
God lives beyond what we think.
Can God lift
So
the rock?
God can
The rock
do
is in
whatever
front.
He wants
So
outside our
look, the
understanding.
rock is in front of God. Can he lift it?
The one that you contradicted yourself.
No, I
Right?
didn't contradict
Just to be
myself.
clear.
So God made a rock that's so heavy he can't lift it. Now, can he lift it?
God can do. I'm trying to explain to you. God can do everything. That's
Okay,
what I'm trying to
so
say.
does that
God
include
is
lifting
not
the rock?
limited by what you contradict.
Does that
yourself.
include lifting the rock that he
you're
can't
thinking,
lift?
Wait, you're thinking of a human.
I'm not thinking of a human. Does that include answering the question? Does that? Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
Does that include
say that again?
lift? So you say God can do everything? Does that include being able to lift a rock that he can't lift?
So I'm gonna answer that in a very simple way. God can create that, and God can lift the rock at the same time.
Okay, so then
That's what I'm
but
trying
wait a
to say.
minute. If he can lift it,
So God
means
is
that he
not limited
didn't-
by what you contradict yourself.
but I'm confused now.
Let me space it out for you.
No, hold on, Rip. So I'm confused now because you said God could lift it, but you also said that God could make a rock that he couldn't lift. So which one is it?
Yeah, he can do that at the same time. Yes.
So he can lift
He
it
can do
and
that at the
also
same
not
time.
be able
That's
to
what
lift
you're
it,
at.
is what you're telling me.
No. He can make it and lift it at the same time.
Well, how can he lift it if it doesn't exist
It's
yet?
both, bro. It's
So,
yeah.
so
I'll
what
tell
you're,
you.
what,
I'll
so
tell you.
what
I'll
you're
tell you. I'll
telling me?
explain
Wait a
it
minute.
for
I'm
you.
sorry. I'm
Well,
sorry. Can
let me-
God
let me
answer this?
just say something. Let me
Can
just say
God
something.
answer this question in a thoughtful and clear way?
Not that you would understand, but if he wanted you to understand, yes.
Oh, so he doesn't have the power to do that? He doesn't have the power to
said yes.
answer
I
in a
literally
thoughtful.
said yes.
Okay,
I just
okay.
said
So,
yes.
so he can. Can you do it? Can you answer the question in a thoughtful and clear way?
I can simplify for you, not answer by yes or no.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me go back to the thing. If you make a program, just to be clear, if you make a program of a character that worships you, let me simplify for that. So he tells you, if I wanna be able to have my faith in you, can you make a rock in the game that you can lift? What would your answer be?
So if I'm the computer programmer, I don't even think
you got stuck now.
No, I'm
got
answering your.
stuck now.
I'm literally answering your question. If I'm I'm the computer programmer in this example. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're the one sitting behind the desk. You're the one
Right.
just
So
tapping your
then
keyboard.
no. Kind of by
programming that thing.
construction, I
And your
can't
character
lift.
somehow gets consciousness.
So wait a minute. Wait. So by construction, I can't lift the rock.
No, in the program. I'm saying strictly in the program, not outside world.
So yeah, then I can't lift the rock because the rock is like an abstract thing in the program, and I can't interact with it directly.
No. You see, you're running away now. I'm telling you.
How is that
in
running
the
away? I'm just
program-
answering your question. The answer
You're
is
the
no, I can't
programmer.
lift it because
create this
I'm
rock
outside
that
the
he can't lift.
program.
Huh?
Wait, so hold on. So why are we
But
talking
you can
about?
create a rock.
I can create a rock. I'm a programmer. I can create a rock. Yes, I agree. Then what?
Exactly. Can you create a rock so heavy that you can't lift?
Well, I can't lift any rocks in the program because I'm not in the program.
Oh, you're begging the question now. Listen,
How is that? Do you know what that means?
it's very simple.
Do you know what begging
The
the
guy
question means?
tells you, if I want to believe in you, huh?
Do you know what begging the question means?
Yeah. Going on and on and on in your way.
That's literally
Going on
not
and
what
on
begging
and
the
on
question
in your
means.
way
Begging the question
to
means
evade
that
the
you're
question.
assuming what you want to be true is true. That's what begging the question means.
Exactly. So you're saying that you can't interact with it directly, but I'm telling you, you're the programmer. You can move the rock anyhow you want.
Wait a
And you
minute.
can create and
Now I'm
the
confused.
guy that you created.
Are we
which
talking
has
about
somehow got
lifting a rock?
consciousness-
Are we talking about lifting a rock, or are we talking about like programming in the rock to be in a different place? Because yeah, I could definitely program the rock to be in a different place. I can't lift the rock because the rock is not a physical thing, and I'm a physical person. I can't like reach into a program and lift something. It doesn't even make sense.
You can move it in the game. Wait. You can move it in the game.
I can like program it to be in a different place.
Yes or no?
Yeah, I can like program it to be in a different place.
Oh no! That is whoa! You went way off, man. Just
You seem
understand what I'm trying
confused.
to say. There's a guy who tells you, can you program a rock so big that you can move it to a different place? Let me simplify about that.
Oh no, I can't do that. I could move every rock.
You can move every rock, but you can't create a rock that's so big that you can't move.
No, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't know
Right?
how to. I wouldn't know how to program something that's
Then-
so that its
Then
mass
how would you convince?
like
then
controls
how
how
the
like
character to
difficult it
believe
is to
that you
program it to
programmed it?
move. I'm not concerned with that.
No, man, please. I understand what you're trying to do. Just
I don't
listen.
think you do.
You want to
I don't think
convince
you
this
understand
guy
what you're
that
trying
you
to do.
created. Wait. Hello?
I'm here.
Wait, the internet is kind of slow. Just hang on a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. My internet is kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm back. So wait. Yeah. The guy. How would you convince the guy to have faith in you that you built him or you created him? How would you do that?
So I programmed him, right?
Yeah, you programmed him. He doesn't know that. He gets consciousness, and now he starts.
I would just program him with the belief that he exists, or that I exist rather, and that I created him.
Oh, so now he doesn't have. Now he doesn't have.
But I'm sorry, hold on, Rip. This seems completely. This seems completely unrelated to the question of can God create a rock so heavy that he can't lift it?
No, that
it seems like a dodge.
Related. I'm just.
How is it related?
So you know how ridiculous the question is. The question doesn't make any sense.
The question's unrelated to.
Can you climb this wall, but you're not allowed to reach the top?
Rip. The question is doesn't have anything to do with convincing anybody about anything. The question is merely, if it's the case that God can make contradictions true, then that means that God should be able to do this thing that he also shouldn't be able to do. Do you understand? You can unmute now. God, there was so much nice peace and quiet for a second there.
Okay, so I got offended by that. Continue.
Did you hear what I said?
Is that how you treat every guest?
Only when you're talking over me so much that I can't even get a sentence out. Yeah.
Nah, man. It's very straightforward. You program. You have to make that guy believe in you. He asked the contradictory question that you're asking. It doesn't make sense. I'm not waiting for an answer.
Oh, okay.
I'm not waiting for a yes or no answer. I'm not waiting for that.
I understand. So, yeah. So if I'm the programmer,
let me complete my point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me finish my point first.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm trying to give you the big picture that the question itself doesn't make any sense. It's not a matter of yes or no question because you know that you created him, but he throws at you a contradiction that you have to answer within his limits because he can't physically understand what you're doing. Us as humans are limited by our brains. You know that, right? That's the only way of thinking for us. Yes or no?
Are you done with your point?
No, I'm not done. I'm asking you. You know that we have.
No, I'm sorry. You said let me make my point, and I said okay. And then once you're done with your point, I'm going to make the point that I was going to make before you wanted to finish making your point.
Okay, I'm
right?
done with my point. You can go
So
ahead.
look,
I want to hear what you have to say.
It sounds like what you're saying is imagine that there's me and imagine that our universe is programmed by a programmer, right? You call that programmer God. I might call it Jeff or whatever. But the point is imagine that our universe is programmed. Well, look, so if the programmer wanted us to believe that programmer made the universe, then he could have just programmed us with that belief. He did make us after all. However,
that's definitely true.
He could definitely just do that. However, say he didn't do that and some other NPC was trying to convince the NPC that's me that, there is a programmer. If that NPC that was trying to convince me said, "Oh, the programmer doesn't have to obey logic," then I would say that if that NPC that was trying to do the convincing made that argument, I would say that they made a horrible argument and that nobody should believe it on that basis. Because of course the programmer obeys logic. Of course it does. And if you say otherwise, well then it seems like that I shouldn't take your argument seriously.
Wait, he chooses to obey logic.
I'm sorry, so if we're talking about a real computer program, then yes, of course the programmer obeys logic. Like, of course, obviously.
But not according to what he programs. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't know what that means. What do you mean not? Like, look, can he make false things true and false at the same, or can he make things true and false at the same time? Of course he can.
outside of your understanding, yes, outside of what you can see.
No, he
because
just
you're
can't,
limited
period.
by
He
your
just can't,
brain.
period.
That is the whole point.
If you're suggesting that something doesn't,
No, of
if you're
course, no, of
suggesting that
course.
something,
That is not true.
You're having a hard time interrupting. I understand. If you're suggesting that the being that you want me to believe in is fundamentally illogical, I'm sorry, that's not going to be compelling.
Yeah, sorry, the little bit of something. Please say that. Say the last part again. I got all of it.
If the being that you are trying to convince me of is fundamentally illogical, then you're going to have a real hard time convincing me to believe in it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
It's going to convince nobody it's going to convince nobody if your argument is, oh well, all of your arguments don't work because my God is illogical. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to believe in illogical things.
No, okay. At that point, that's where you stop. Sorry, like that's where you stop thinking. God, wait, do you believe that God is beyond our thinking? Yes or no?
There might be some things that like we can't conceptualize, but I don't think that I don't think that if he exists, he can make contradictions true.
Wait, sorry, lag. Say that again, please.
If he exists, I don't think that he can make contradictions true.
But he's beyond your understanding, and you don't believe he can make something true.
Yeah, I don't think he can make contradictions true.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what to say about that. That is absolutely something. I don't know what to say about that. You're thinking in a way.
Do you think that he can make him? Do you think that he can make himself exist? Sorry. Do you think that he can make himself not exist? While also existing, I should say.
Please elaborate.
Yeah. Could God make atheism true?
If he wanted, yes.
And then would theism
beyond
be
your
true?
understanding and my understanding?
Would theism still be true?
Hello?
Would theism still be true?
Hello?
Would theism still be true?
If God wants it to be true, yes.
So what you're telling me is that God could make atheism and theism true at the same time?
Please repeat that again.
Can God make atheism true and theism true at the same time?
If he wanted, yes, beyond your and my understanding.
Suppose that he did, what would that look like?
I don't know. You should ask him. Maybe that's not something.
So how do you know he can do it then? Because I'm asking you to debate it.
Because he is the Almighty God. I believe that God created the heavens, the earth, everything in between.
I know that you believe that.
And he is capable of all things beyond my understanding.
I'm aware that you have the thought-terminating cliche of he can do anything, even if it's illogical. I know you have that thought-terminating cliche. I'm asking you to think about this, like actually think about this, right? What would it mean if atheism is true?
Wait, can you tell me what's that?
What would it mean if atheism is true?
Cliche, something.
Thought-terminating cliche is something that you tell yourself or tell others when you don't want to think hard about something.
That is bombardical. That is absolutely not true.
Okay, so then think hard about this. If God were to make atheism true while also keeping theism true, what would that look like? Would God exist?
That is a contradiction, but
you said that he could do it.
He would exist beyond you and my understanding.
Right. So if he exists,
let me put it in this way for you.
If
maybe
he exists,
you understand.
If he exists, then
let's say you have a
atheism.
son. Let's say you have a son who is 5 years old.
If he exists, then atheism is not true. So then it seems like he can't make atheism true while also keeping theism true.
That's in your way of thinking.
That's just what the word means. This is not my way of thinking. It's just what the word means.
That's your way of thinking. No. Yeah,
This
but
isn't just
the
my way
thing
of
is
thinking. It's
that
just
we
what the word
created
means.
word. Isn't
Yeah,
that true?
and so I'm asking, can God make
Yeah, but we
atheism
created the word.
true in
That's
the
why
sense that we
humans,
mean it?
humans have limits. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Rip,
Humans
I'm
have limits.
asking, can God make
Huh?
atheism true in the way that humans mean it, while simultaneously making theism true in the way that humans mean it?
Yes, beyond you and my understanding.
So then atheism in the way that humans mean it would be true?
Please say that again.
Atheism in the way that humans mean it would be true if he were to do this then, yeah?
Yeah.
And what does it mean when atheism is true in the way that humans mean it?
Yeah.
That-
Both at the same time.
So if atheism is true, it means that God does not exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's your understanding.
Yes, and the question was, can God make atheism true in the way that humans understand it, in the way that humans mean it? And so you said yes,
Well, if
God can
you
make
don't
it.
think about if you don't think wait.
You said that God can make atheism true in the way that humans mean it.
What you're saying. Wait. I think I've grasped what you're saying, but let me answer
We grabbed
your
that.
question with something else. You have a 5-year-old son.
Oh my God. No, I'm
you're
not going to
trying
let you
to teach
pivot.
him
I'm sorry.
quantum
We were
mechanics.
going down a line of questioning.
Is
I'm not
he
going to let you
capable of-
interrupt. No. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you interrupt. We can think about your line of questioning after we're done with mine, but I'm not going to let
answering
you
your
completely
question with a
pivot.
question.
You can't answer questions with
Wait,
questions. That's not an answer. That's just another question.
Let you. That's what I'm trying to tell you all this time. God isn't was subjected by yes or no questions or answers.
I'm not asking God them. I'm asking you them. So look, what it sounds like is it sounds like you said.
I'm not.
It sounds like
you're
you
asking-
were regretting what
you're
you said.
asking no matter who.
It sounds like you're regretting what you said. It sounds like you recognized that it can't be the case that God can make atheism true in the way humans mean it, while also keeping theism true in the way humans mean it. It sounds like you're recognizing that that's not possible,
Okay,
that
I was
doesn't make
talking-
any sense. It sounds like that doesn't
was-
make any sense to you, and now you're trying to pivot.
No. God isn't limited by what you say is true or false. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Can God
You
make
think-
atheism
you
true
think
in the way
different how
that
I
humans
think,
mean
but
it?
we all have limits.
Can God make atheism true in the way that humans mean it,
In a
while
way
keeping
that you don't
theism
understand. Yes,
true?
that's what I'm trying to tell you.
No, the question wasn't about in a way that I don't understand. It's in the way that humans mean it. That's what the question is.
No matter how you put it, you are not all knowing.
Okay,
That's
then
the
you're not answering the question. Answer the question. The question is, can God make atheism true the way that...
I just did.
No, you're answering a different question. The question is, can God make atheism true
You
in
are
the
not
way...
all knowing, so
This is irrelevant. Can God make atheism true in the way that humans mean it?
so you've just thrown a contradiction out, and I'm supposed to answer yes or no.
Look, yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or, alternatively, you could say God can't make contradictions true.
What? Wait. Do you hear? Wait. Do you hear yourself, man?
Yes,
Do you
I
hear
do hear
yourself?
myself very well.
You're throwing a contradiction. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
You're throwing a contradiction at me, and I'm supposed to answer yes or no, knowing
Yeah,
that
because
both
you
are
think-
incorrect.
Yeah, because you think that God can
What?
make contradictions
Man,
true.
wait. Holy shit.
You think God can make contradictions true, right? So you should have no problem answering.
God, not me. Wait. It's God, not me. You're
Right. So we're
the wrong
asking about
person.
whether
It's
God can do
not
it.
me.
We're asking whether God can do it. We're not asking whether you can do it. Of course you can't do it. We're asking
He
whether God
can
can do it.
anything.
There's that thought terminating cliche again.
Yeah,
Thanks for
of
being here,
course.
Rip. I can only tolerate so much of that. He was so dense. Like that was wildly dense. Sorry, I was just taking some notes. All right, let's read some super chats and then we'll move on to the next guest. From Fears Interaction. With the $5, thank you, Fears. Bro is going to give Blitz a permanently furrowed brow. Honestly, probably, yeah. And then from Fierce Interaction again with the $5. Now bro is giving me a permanently furrowed brow. Empathy achieved. Let's go. Let's go for the empathy. Empathy points all the way. Levy says, tell me how something can exist without nothing. I don't think that nothing can exist. I don't think it makes any sense to say that nothing exists. From Raj Jar, set with the 279 Canuck bucks, bro, God exists, but what humans God doesn't exist? I don't know what that question means. From Michelle Colin with the 5 Canuck bucks, sorry, 5 Australian dollars. We are all God. This universe is a construct of me. You are simply another split of the same universal consciousness or God, so God is everything. Okay, it seems like that view is pretty consistent with atheism. Strawman says $5, sends $5 with, you badger this dude about God, but realize your question violates basic concepts of physics. When you almost released it, you moved the goalpost. Oh, look, so I wouldn't have asked this question if he didn't think contradictions were able to be made possible by God. He already thinks that we can already have contradictions, things that violate laws of logic, not just laws of physics. So then we have to investigate that, right? And then from J Money with the $5, how are you alive? If it wasn't for your spirit, did you already give it to the devil? I don't think spirits exist, J Money. We're getting a lot of hate watchers and hate donators. So look, I appreciate you guys. Whether you like me or not, it doesn't matter to me. I appreciate you guys for supporting the live stream. All right, let's move on to our next guest. Let's talk to Nathan Fitzpatrick, top of the list. Nathan, how's it going? For some reason, I can't see your icon, but oh,
Hey,
well.
how's it going? I'm not gonna spend as much time as that guy did. I gotta go walk my dog. So just some background context. I am a computer engineer, so I can't talk the physics that we may want to get into. We probably shouldn't go crazy deep, but I'm just giving that context just to let you know you're not going to be able to say, keywords like quantum mechanics and think that that's going to go above my head. So
I didn't say any of those. I didn't say any of those things. No, the other guy did. The other guy brought it up.
You brought it up. You brought it up.
No, I didn't.
I don't even think he knows what quantum mechanics is.
Yeah, I know. He brought it up. I don't know why he did. It was very silly of him to do so.
Not when I was on the call, but fair.
I mean, I have the recording, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyways,
computer engineers famously know a lot about quantum mechanics.
I mean, a little bit, right? So I know the basic concept of them, and so I don't think that this is irrelevant to the conversation.
Right.
Moving on.
Go ahead.
So I think the key walkthrough that most people should go through is you answer the first question. Do you think there was a creator?
No.
Okay. So then I think most people in modern day, I would say the majority would say yes to that question, but we can focus on the no.
Maybe. I mean, maybe 50-50. Like there's a lot of people in East and Southeast Asia who just don't believe in a God.
Okay. So my problem with the answer no is going to be, then how do you explain? I think that a core atheist that does not believe that, so I think it's called an agnostic, right? That doesn't believe in the Christian God, but does believe that there was maybe a creator. But I think
no, that's not what an agnostic is. An agnostic is somebody who just isn't sure. They just don't know whether or not a God exists or a creator exists or anything like that.
So many agnostics will admit that there might be a creator, but it might not be described in the way major world religions have described. Okay, so they can get around, but let's focus on your answer, which is no, which I think talk about contradictions. If we want to come from a place of only logic and only science, right? Because if you do not believe in God, you cannot bring a faith-based practice into your thought process.
Sure.
Okay. So then how do you explain the Big Bang, right?
I don't have
I don't mean post the Big Bang. How did it happen? So I'm gonna
You're asking what the cause are you asking what the cause of the Big Bang was?
No, I'm gonna focus on the one clearly defines, I'm gonna call it miracle that atheists require for their beliefs that the universe was able to be created, but without a God, which is how is matter or energy created in that scenario? And as me and you know,
I don't think it was.
And just to let your viewers know, well, okay, but it had to be, right?
Why?
Because energy and matter cannot just. So do you think that energy and matter is eternal then, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, so then so if it isn't eternal, then it had to be created, correct?
Nope. It's not a true dichotomy.
Okay, so then explain that, please. Because
so eternal,
before
the
I let
opposite
you
of
explain
eternal.
That.
Well, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on.
Look,
Before I
you
let
asked me to explain it.
But
you asked
second.
me to explain it. You've been
me,
monologuing. I'm going to explain it.
But let me just finish this last sentence and then
Okay.
I'll let you know. So the reason why it's important to focus on this scientific perspective, right, with atheists saying that no, there was not a creator, is because prior to the Big Bang, focusing on the energy and matter, right? So the theory of the Big Bang, as we all know, is that everything came from basically one molecule and just expanded, right?
That's not at all the Big Bang.
It's in a small vacuum. That is basically what it is. It's matter. You can call it the hydrogen atom, whatever the hell.
It's not at all that, by the way.
Okay,
like,
so
that's
then
a complete misinterpretation. I was going to, but then you wanted to explain instead.
But can we agree that one of Newton's laws of physics is that energy and matter cannot be created? Do we agree on that?
That is not one of Newton's laws.
We do not agree on that.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, do you know Newton's? What are Newton's three laws of motion? Do you know those? Bro came in really hot. Oh, he's minimizing. Yeah, so the first law of motion is an object in motion stays in motion, and an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an external force. The second law is that the force acting upon an object is equal to the mass times that object's acceleration. The third law, I'm sorry, you're cutting me off now. I'm going to mute you. You have to let me talk. You've been monologuing. The third law is that for every force that object A applies to object B applies an equal and opposite force to object A. Then there's also Newton's universal law of gravitation. That is that the force of gravity is proportional to the product of the masses of the two attracting objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. None of those have anything to do with matter cannot be created or destroyed. In fact, that's not even something that Newton set down in stone. That was put forward by, I think, like a chemist in the 1700s. That matter can't be created or destroyed. The notion of kinetic energy conservation was kind of alluded to by Newton and Leibniz and other contemporaries, but this was not something, Lavoisier, thank you. This was not something that Newton is responsible for, no. Now, would you like to continue? You're currently unmuted, by the way. You can talk.
Hello?
Howdy. I can't hear you when you're off the app, by the way.
I mean, I appreciate the refresher. I did misstate the Newton laws of motion. I meant the conservation of energy, which was by Albert Einstein.
That's not by Albert Einstein either.
You can that's a quick Google. You can look that up.
I know.
Right?
I know. I've read Einstein's papers. I know. It's not from Albert Einstein. Conservation of energy originates with like Leibniz.
But you're avoiding the fundamental premise of the statement, right? Do we agree that the statement is something that scientifically has been agreed upon as, true, right?
No, not since 1917 or so.
So energy can be created.
Yep. Okay. When you go off the app, I can't hear you, and I also know when you're off the app.
Okay, so energy can be created. Can you please? I'm literally, and this is breaking information to me. So
it's not, maybe to you. Yeah,
where are we told that?
Oh yeah. In 1998, the discovery of the accelerated expansion of our universe won a Nobel Prize. A few years later, I think in 2002. The Nobel Prize was awarded for discovering dark energy. Dark energy is energy that is increasing over time.
Okay,
it's not coming from somewhere, it's just brand new energy.
Right. So dark energy is something that
was discovered in 1998.
But is this not a little bit into theoretical physics? Like, I don't know.
They won a Nobel Prize for it, my guy. I don't think it gets any more real physics than that.
Winning a Nobel Prize for it doesn't mean that it is
it's real.
That it's true.
It's true. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it doesn't.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll have to go. Yeah. So look, I'm gonna trust the Nobel Committee. I'm gonna trust the all of the textbooks on general relativity.
You didn't answer my
more than I will
question.
trust you.
Is dark matter not under
I didn't say dark
the
matter.
umbrella of theoretical physics?
I didn't say dark matter. I said dark energy. Dark energy is an energy density that is responsible for the accelerated expansion of the universe. Now, whatever it might be, we don't know, but we do know that there's more of it every moment of the day.
Okay. So then my question still remains, and I think that we could probably focus the conversation there.
Sure.
So what happens during the Big Bang? I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, right?
I don't know. I don't know what the cause was.
I mean, I'll explain it to you so then you can just answer
Can
the
you hear
question
me?
directly.
I already answered your question. I already answered your question.
No, I know, but the point that I'm bringing
Then
up,
why do you need to explain it again? I answered it. The answer is I don't know.
I didn't conclude the kind of the point that I'm making is that
look, if you're gonna ask a question, then you have to let me answer. You can't just ask a question then keep rambling.
Okay.
Look, my answer to your question, what caused the Big Bang? I don't know.
Okay, so that's a fair statement, but I think that if you accept that matter, and I mean, you're giving me a point that I don't have any details on, so I don't really have an answer to the dark energy point that you made, but prior to that understanding, that energy cannot be created or destroyed, so then there is a crack in the armor of atheism, in my opinion, okay? And that's that and to the question of that the universe just is without a creator, right?
So to be clear, even if energy can't be created or destroyed, that doesn't have anything to do with whether what caused the Big Bang. I could just stipulate that.
No. It answers the question.
I have to mute you. I have to mute you. Like I was in the middle of a sentence, my guy. I let you finish. I was in the middle of a sentence. The point is that suppose for a moment that energy was truly conserved, which we know it's not in our universe, but suppose for a moment that it was. Well, then I could just stipulate that, yeah, it's always existed, that the energy or that the matter has always had this amount of, the matter that is in our universe has always had this amount of energy. And then I could just say the Big Bang was just one period of time in the 13.8 billion years ago where it happened to be at its smallest size, and then it was expanding after that. These are completely compatible. You there?
You keep muting me.
Yeah, because you're interrupting me.
I mean, listen, you interrupt me. But whatever. You're the host. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's your page. I don't think you caught any of what I was saying. So you mentioned that the energy, the universe has always had this energy stored up, right? It's kind of a counter argument, and I think that brings me back to the statement of it either has to be eternal or it has to be been created, right? And I think both answers, both being eternal or being created, point to having a creator, right?
That's not a true dichotomy. It's not a true dichotomy.
If it's eternal, then you could almost say that the universe itself is the creator, which I don't really agree with that. And that's a whole different rabbit hole. But if it was created, right, if the energy or matter had to be created, which goes against the laws of physics, so I think that atheists can't necessarily agree with that and also say, oh, but there wasn't. So it goes against the laws of physics. So I think that bringing in that there is a creator. I'm not saying the Jewish God, the Muslim God, the Christian God, I don't know what Buddhists believe in.
You're equivocating. Sorry, you're equivocating.
But my point is that it answers that there was a creator. And then I think you go further down.
I'm sorry, you're rambling. Right?
Okay.
Land the plane so I can respond, please.
But exactly. So until you can answer logically, and mostly your answer was I don't know, which I think is a fair answer because it's a question that the majority of the most highest intellects are trying to answer right now. How was the universe created? It's a hard one, but I do think that I think that theists have an answer for it. There's a creator, and I think that atheists don't have an answer for it, and I think that is the first point, and maybe the only one that I'll make on this call with you, because I won't even go into the Christian. philosophy.
answer Mike. I'm gonna respond now. So
Okay.
first of all,
Well, you're interrupting me, but go ahead.
yeah, you've spoken for like 80% of our conversation.
Okay.
Like, so you have
Go
to
ahead,
stop
go
talking
ahead.
eventually. Anyway, so
ahead.
look, you're equivocating on the word creator. On the one hand, if I said, yeah, the universe has a creator insofar as there was a cause for the universe's existence, then you'd say, aha, you're not an atheist, because you're equivocating on what you mean by creator. So if the universe has always existed, meaning that if it had an eternal past, then there's no sense of the word in which it was created, because a creation, by definition, implies a beginning, and if there was no beginning, then there is no creation. Furthermore, the statement that either it has an eternal past or it has a creator, that doesn't follow. It's not a true dichotomy. You can have a timeless or you can have a finite past, which is preceded by a timeless state of affairs, in which case there is a first moment. This would be like, you know, the moment where we start counting it as the Big Bang, and there's just a timeless state of affairs prior to that, like some sort of like non-causally prior to that, in which case you don't need a cause. The cause is explained by the prior timeless state, and yet it also has a finite past. So like the entire crux of the argument that it's a true dichotomy just fails.
Okay, well, I disagree with you, because the bringing up the timeless one is, I'm actually so happy that that guy went up before me, because bringing up that there is a, let's call it a timeless universe, kind of goes directly into the conversation you were having with him, which was a mess of a conversation. But you are basically taking the opposite stance in what you were having with him, which that like God
Want me
can't
to
be
clarify?
outside of time.
Want me to clarify? Because I can clarify.
Sure. I want you to clarify basically.
Yeah, I'm going to, Nathan.
Okay, but can
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to clarify. So, under the theist's worldview, which is what I was critiquing, cause and effect are things that happen. They have ontology. They have. Please, I'm explaining the distinction.
Our conversation, though, ours is related, but it is not the same.
Right. So on my worldview, cause and effect don't exist. They don't have ontology, and so there's no issue with a non-causal cause, because causes aren't real. There's just a state of affairs that give rise to other states of affairs and are related to other states of affairs. There's no issue on my worldview. However, if that's the view that you take, then it doesn't make sense to say that God caused the universe. And so on a theist's worldview, you have to think that cause and effect are real, and if you do, then they must be temporal. That's the difference. On my worldview, I'm totally allowed to think that you can have like a non-temporal existence for the universe that gives rise to a temporal existence. There's no issue there. On a theist's worldview, any sort of atemporal causation makes no sense.
What I would have preferred you to answer was basically what makes you believe that we could have a universe that had time and then one before that was timeless. But that's getting into like a whole can of worms that doesn't have an answer. So fine, you want to pivot.
It does. I just gave you the answer, actually.
No, that cause and effect doesn't relate. You pivoted the conversation to what you were talking about with him, because
and then I explained on my worldview how it's no problem to talk about a timeless worldview.
Exactly. You feel more confident in that conversation. I don't even know.
I actually feel way more confident here, because at least you seem to understand the words I'm saying.
Okay, but I don't understand temporal, right? So I don't really know what you mean by that. And what I'll answer what he couldn't answer, just for the sake of conversation. So
sure.
I think, and this is coming from the Christian view, right? So one thing that we will say is that God does not contradict. So I'll answer that. Then two, the other part of that is that God does not control everything. So one of the big ones is, why does a baby get cancer and die? Well, that is not God's cause.
Okay, that's cool, but nobody talked about that. Why are we bringing that up?
Can you let me finish? No, but my
it just
point
seems
is,
like it seems like an enormous pivot. I didn't talk about it with the last guy.
I'm answering your cause and effect question, okay? So it's
I didn't
not
ask a
that
question.
Well, your statement, sorry. I didn't. It's not that God causes everything, right?
I never said that God causes everything. I don't believe that you believe that God causes everything either.
I thought that you were alluding to that in the prior conversation.
No, God causes the universe in the theist's worldview.
Right. Okay.
Causes the universe to exist, right? That's
But
what it
I
means to
don't
create
think
it.
I don't think, and I think going to your point of it being there being a pretense of a universe that was maybe timeless, then I think that he can cause it, right? If there's a universe that is timeless, and if we can theoretically, you don't have to agree with me, but I mean, I think the point can stand that God can sit outside of time. That is disproven, or that is not proven or disproven. So if that is true, and if you are able to imagine a universe that was timeless prior to the Big Bang, then yes, God did cause the universe to be created.
Nothing in that prior is a hard word to use here because it's not prior to anything. But we can say ontologically prior, if you will. We can say that it's related to it in a way that, like, anyway, whatever the right word is, nothing in that universe, nothing in that part of the universe causes anything. It's timeless. You can't cause anything.
See, this, I think it's semantics, and I think we're getting into a place.
This is literally not semantics.
We don't have any we are getting magnitudes above the understanding of physics. Like we can't even tie quantum mechanics.
I don't know if you knew this, Nathan, but the theory that I'm referring to, the idea of a time-full universe giving rise, as you wind the clock back further, to a timeless universe, that was proposed by Stephen Hawking 40 years ago.
Okay,
this is well within the realm of physics.
I understand
this is well within the realm of physics. I'm sorry. You're just mistaken.
There's a guy that also proposes that there's 13 dimensions. I don't know if you know. I don't know what his name off the top of my head. He's kind of I don't know.
My point is, this is well within the realm of physics.
Just because somebody smart proposes something doesn't really mean anything.
I understand it. Okay. I'm familiar with the paper that he wrote. He wrote it with James Hartle.
That's fantastic.
This is a well-studied, well-understood thing within physics. Yes.
Well understood.
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not well understood.
I haven't taken a look at it, so I can't I don't have any points to counter it. Okay, which is wonderful for your argument. But the point that I'm making, we're talking about something magnitudes of levels that it's going to be impossible to debate. Going back,
it wouldn't be impossible to debate if you were informed on the topic.
Well, but you're talking. So Stephen Hawking proposed an idea, but I don't.
Yeah,
really,
in the 80s.
You're using very semantics words that I think that if it was anything past theoretical, you would use that in your favor. So I don't think that
we don't have any empirical data that says anything prior. Please, we don't have any empirical data prior to the Big Bang. We don't even have any empirical data prior to 380,000 years after the Big Bang. That doesn't mean that we can't reason about the way that it was.
Exactly.
And so if you're trying, don't say exactly. You're disagreeing with me. The point is I'm providing a third option to infinite past or finite past with the creator. This is a valid, logically sound third option. And
you can't just call it validly and logically sound.
Look, okay, where's the contradiction? Then where's the contradiction if it's not logically sound?
I think I haven't looked at this proposition from Stephen Hawking, but based on the fact that it is just theoretical, it's pretty meaningless because physics comes out with theoretical ideas constantly from very
and they're logically sound. Yeah.
No, logically sound is a stretch, you know?
So Nathan, I don't know if you know this, but the only way to get a theoretical paper published is for the mathematics to be on point. And mathematics is strictly logical.
That's debatable.
It's not. When was the last time you read a physics paper, Nathan?
Well, because you could. This is a completely different conversation.
When was the last time you read a physics paper?
Is academia not very political?
When was the last time you read a physics paper?
Dr. Blitz, is academia not very political? Is it not a politicalized industry? Okay. When
was the last time you read a physics paper, Nathan?
Let's move on from this conversation.
Don't dodge.
The point that I was making with
when was the last time you read a physics paper?
God doesn't cause everything, right?
When was the last time you read a physics paper? Don't dodge.
Free will. Okay.
Nathan, so don't dodge. Don't dodge.
I don't dabble in physics. Okay. So
that's clear. So why are you making statements about it? Why are you making statements about them as if they're true when you don't know anything about it?
Okay, but why do you make statements about God? You're not a theological, everybody's allowed to make statements about things, right? Is that
so?
Last time I checked, that we live in America, a democracy where free speech is allowed.
So I'm a physicist. I'm telling you what is true about the state of physics, about what's well understood and things like that. And you're just like, nah, that's not true. You're just being incredulous, which is absurd.
I'm not telling you it's not true. I'm speaking your language and telling you that you're bringing up a Stephen Hawking theoretical point.
Yes,
okay?
which is logically
and
sound.
I'm not going to take that.
The way
You
that we
can
know
call
it's
it-
logically
you can
sound is because
you can
the
call it
mathematics is good.
logically sound. You can call it logically sound, but I'm
Yep.
not going to take that for more than just some guy screaming a theory on the street. Because I know things about academia. I know that it's political.
I've read the paper.
I know
I've checked
Stephen
it.
Hawking was a famous person. Right?
I'm sorry, was it? So I've read the paper. I've
Okay,
checked
but
it.
exactly. So this conversation is useless to have between us because you've checked it and I haven't. You
Yeah,
know.
so then
Like,
why are you
I
making
will give
statements
that.
about you? Why don't you just say, yeah,
Because
well,
you
okay, it
keep
could
trying
be.
to talking about it. I keep trying to move.
No,
the
but you could just say,
conversation,
yeah,
keep
well,
wanting to
you
bring
could
it
be
back.
right. The right answer, if you don't know what I'm
is
talking
that,
about.
Is that what? Okay, but it's a maybe.
right
It's
answer.
an I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that you could be right. It's
Yeah,
a maybe and I don't know.
You're right. It's
Okay,
an I
but
don't
exactly.
know.
I'm not
So
going to
do
do
you
the
agree?
verbiage. I'm not going to give you
Do
verbiage
you
that goes
agree?
in your favor. I'm not going to
Do
do it.
you agree that it is possible that there could be a third option that you hadn't considered?
Of course. No, okay, but I think that is the problem with most people thinking. I would say, of course, there's two factions. There's people that think in God and just do it because it makes them feel good. And I would put myself not in that faction. And then there's people that believe in God and it's a logical based faith, but also it grows into a spiritual one. But it starts as a logical one. And there's obviously an option where I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
I'm
but
talking
I
about the
think there's-
dichotomy you offered. Is it possible that the dichotomy you offered is not a true dichotomy?
So I'm not a debater, so I don't really even know what that
Okay,
necessarily
I can
means.
explain. A dichotomy is that there's only two ways something could be.
I
If it's
understand
not
that
A,
part.
then it must be B.
Sure.
So do you agree
I-
that the options that you proposed, it's either that the universe has always existed or that it has a creator, is not a true dichotomy? That's possibly
I
the
think
case.
most questions probably aren't a true dichotomy, right?
I mean, there are
So-
some true dichotomies, like either the sky, or either I exist or I don't exist, right? Like that's
Okay,
a true
but
dichotomy.
exactly. We're asking questions that are
Or
very beyond.
We could say
these,
either God does
simple
exist or God doesn't exist. That's a true dichotomy.
Either two plus two is 4 or 2 plus 2 isn't 4, right?
Right,
Of course,
so-
but you
but
have
you
to know
offered
the answer. Yeah, I think you have to know the answer to be able to define it as a true dichotomy.
No,
right?
you don't. You just need to know what the
I
not
would say
operation is. So a true dichotomy, a good true dichotomy would be either the universe is eternal, meaning it has an infinite number of past days, or it doesn't. That would be a true dichotomy. But saying either the universe is eternal or it has a creator, that's not a true dichotomy. Because it could have a finite number of past days and not have a creator, or it could not have a creator, or it could have a creator and have an infinite number of days. So it's just not a true dichotomy.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. But I think that that is a core pillar that I would start with for atheist and theist. Like, I think that you need to be able to explain that. And I also, I'm going to go here. What can you answer one question for me as
Sure.
an atheist, since we won't even get into the Christian side of things?
Sure.
Why, as a debater, is it not easier to take the negative of something, to disprove something rather than to prove something, right?
I think it just depends on the thing, right?
I disagree with you, but focusing on this thing, right? I think it's much easier to try and tell people your ideas are not true, rather than I've never heard an atheist come up with like their belief system, and maybe you can share me yours and be like, this is what I believe in. What I've always heard from atheists is, I just don't believe in your thing, right? I think
Go talk
your
to
thing is
allegedly Ian. Allegedly Ian. So people have different preferences when it comes to debate. So I like to argue. That's why I do this. But I like being on the defensive. That's like the style of debate that I enjoy most. So that's why
I think it's easier.
Well, I don't know if it's easier. I have to stand up against attacks, if you will. But other people like to be on the offensive. Allegedly Ian is an example. He's a friend of mine. He does debates on a similar topic. He comes on and he just makes the positive claim. And if you want to go ask him, okay, yeah, but what's your worldview, XYZ? Feel free to go talk to him. He will absolutely give you a strong defense and challenge yours by promoting a different worldview. I think that a more interesting, and at least for me, a more interesting conversation is that I'm interested in knowing what arguments you can present that might convince somebody like me.
Okay. Well, so then I will leave like the 10-second Christian. Do you know the Christian spiel, like the logical side of it? Like why
I do, but I'd rather you not just like
Yeah, I'm not
Gish
gonna.
gallop and run. So like
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
like we can either
let's talk
we can
about
either
it.
leave
Let's talk
now
about it.
or like you can bring it up and then we can talk about it.
No, let's bring it up and talk about it, but kind of quick. I gotta walk my dog. So I guess my as you know, the simple is I believe that Jesus was resurrected from the dead, and so because of that, I think that is evidence as well as other things, but that's the core piece of evidence, right? That he outlasted death, to him being credible, right? A credible source. So then in short, then I have to believe the other things that he said, which were that he is God and the Son of God, right? And I think the resurrection is the core piece of conversation I'd like to focus on. Obviously, there's no way I can prove it to you, but I also don't think that you can disprove it to me, right? Other than the fact that it's like, well, everybody else has died, so really. But I mean, like the facts that, we can, I'm sure you've heard this, but Nixon, Watergate, you had all these powerful men lying, doing their thing. And people don't, basically what I'm trying to say is people don't lie. People don't go to death based on something that they know to be lying about, right? So the 11 disciples, not Judas because he killed himself, but the 11 disciples were put to death based on their belief that they also believed Jesus to be the Son of God.
Sure.
And they wouldn't have died. They wouldn't have been put to death based on knowing that they were, doing a facade. It was just a lie, right?
I thought I thought this was a 10-second spiel. But
I know,
okay.
I talk a lot, as you know now.
It's okay. So look, first, and I'll just kind of address these things backwards. First, we have no historical reason to believe that any of the disciples were put to death for refusing to give up their beliefs. We do have evidence that I think we have evidence that James was put to death. We don't know why. And I think we have evidence that Paul was as well. But again, we don't know the conditions of like the trial or whatever. We don't know how that worked. Again, you're off the app and I can't hear you when you are, but you can still hear me. But I mean, that's beside the point. There's a secondary point of if we're trying to evaluate whether or not something's true, what we need to do is we need to look at what are the priors that we have for that thing happening, and what are the how good at predicting the outcomes are the explanations of that same thing happening. So if you have two different explanations, what are your priors for those explanations? And then how well do those explanations match the data? That's how we evaluate theories. Is Peter? Sorry, not Paul. No. Peter was put to death upside down, but that's in an apocryphal part of the Bible. There's no historical evidence that happened. Anyway, so if we have two plausible explanations, or if we have two explanations and one is far more plausible a priori, and they both account for the data equally well, well, then you should just you should believe the thing that's more plausible a priori. And so, look, all I have to do is say, look, imagine that there was a conspiracy orchestrated by Pontius Pilate to make this guy appear as if he was the coming Messiah. And then he successfully did so. He tricked a whole bunch of people that this guy was the coming Jewish Messiah. And conspiracies are real. We know that our priors for conspiracies, while they might be low, they shouldn't be arbitrarily low. Whereas miracles, our priors for miracles should be even lower still. And considering that they both equally well explain the data, it seems like we should believe that it was a conspiracy rather than him actually resurrecting from the dead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is just like we both came into this knowing that we disagree on this topic. So I understand what you're saying. I think that there is evidence that all of these, so actually it's not 11. One of them, I think John lives a very long life, but 10 of them are put to death. I think there is historical evidence that is true, okay?
Where?
Why that they're put to death?
Well, no, where's the evidence that it's true? Because I've looked. People bring this up a lot, and I've looked. There's evidence for like maybe two. Maybe James and Paul. I think it's Paul. I can double check though.
Within the Bible, are you using references from the Bible or outside of the Bible?
Well, preferably we would have evidence outside of the Bible. right? Because otherwise it's kind of like the proof of the Bible is in the Bible, right? Like, is that?
Yeah, so I think Paul is shown to be executed. He's shown to be beheaded by Emperor Nero. I don't know the references off the top.
It's Paul. Yeah, so it's so we have James. James is mentioned by somebody. And then I think maybe Paul. I think Tacitus mentions Paul or something like this. But I think that's all we have. And we actually don't know why they were executed either.
Yeah, so
actually, for one of them, we do know why they were executed. I think it's James, and it says that he was executed for being a loudmouth.
I'm not expert. Obviously, I know some of these points, but I'm probably not going to be able to debate with you better than somebody that really studies this for a living. But all I would say is I think that there is, I think your caption here is, I'm an atheist. Can you convince me to believe in your God? If you're truly, and I don't know, but I'm going to take it with the benefit of the doubt. If you are truly looking to answer this question, I would focus on the logical part, because you are you're somebody that, well, not everybody does. I think that everybody should, but some of these things are hard to figure out. I don't think that you can just look at or what am I trying to say? You'd mentioned something with conspiracies and then miracles. I don't necessarily know what you were meaning by that, but the only point that I would make, which I'm sure you've heard, is that whatever evidence you look for, and I'm going to come from the Christian worldview, that that the Christian theology is true, you use that same meter that you would measure against like Alexander the Great or whoever, any other historical event in history, and you use that to measure whether the facts of the Christian story, or what, as you will.
Oh, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like that's like a really bad standard.
The Christian, the Christian historical account. My bad.
No. What I mean is the standard of evidence should be way higher for the Christian account, right?
It should be. But
it's not the same standard at all. Like we have like if the evidence that you offered me for like the evidence that we have for like Alexander the Great existing and like Caesar existing, all these things, and for like the things that we did, A, it's way better than the evidence we have for Jesus being resurrected. But B, even if it was the same quality, even if it was the same quality of evidence, the standard, it would still not be enough, because the size of the claim, the improbability of the claim, scales the quality of evidence that you need in order to demonstrate that it's true.
Okay, so let me give you a little bit more of a spiritual point of view. So I know you mentioned the programming in the programming conversation you were having. I think I got a little bit of insight into your questioning of, if there is a God, why does God do some of the things that he does? And one of them being, if there's a God, why would he not just make us believe in him? Why would he not just program us with that belief already in him? And don't you think that the Christian point of view is that you need to have faith, right? That's the whole basis of the kind of game, right? Have faith, have faith.
The guy that I was talking to was not a Christian.
Yeah, I didn't pick that up from him. So, but that's why I keep prefacing, right? That like but
then the conversation is just not relevant then, right? I wouldn't say that to a Christian, or at least I wouldn't say it in that way. So,
okay, well, what I mean by that, what I'm trying to say is that you mentioned, why did God not program us already with knowing that he is true, right? And so the Christian, so I'm kind of trying to get to the end goal here, where Christianity says you need to have faith, right? So obviously this is a big ask, but let's just assume for a second that the Christian worldview is true, okay? And that having faith is the end goal, so that we can have a relationship with God. Okay, so then God would have made the game in a way where we will never be able to prove him, in a sense where it is So he would make it in a way that we could logically prove him, not compared to your prior conversation where there's contradictions and it's all a bunch of hoopla, but he would teeter the line of evidence that is strong, but also taking it over to where it's undeniable. You know, Tom Brady's the GOAT because he came back. I don't know if you watch football, because he came back 28-3 in the Super Bowl. You know, he's got 7 Super Bowl rings. There's no debate. All the evidence points to him being the greatest.
Land the plane.
Okay, but so God, I think that if that is true, in my opinion, it's a small piece of evidence and maybe very spiritual and faith-based, not very logical, I will admit that, but it is a piece of evidence that I use a little bit because I'm like, okay, why does Dr. Blitz struggle with finding God? He's very intellectual. I think that, you know, I would love for somebody like him to believe in God. Well, I think that's part of the game that God set up, and I think that it is the probability for it to be the line to be this thin and yet it still be walked, right? Because if you could so easily disprove it to me, I would believe it. It would be, I think Paul or Peter says,
to be clear,
it would be embarrassing
Nathan,
for me to believe in Jesus if it was
Nathan,
wrong.
Nathan,
You know?
to be clear, the line is not, it's not a thin line or whatever adjective you use. Like it is quite obvious that this is like not a real thing. However, humans, like we have brain structures that are literally like arranged such that we we have brain structures such that we frequently have religious experiences. And so if we were actually like rational people, nobody would still be believing this stuff. But the fact that we have brain structures, that make us think that this not real stuff is real is why it stuck around so long. I mean, like, and just as a second point, by the way, if God was not real, the fact that there is no actual evidence for it is exactly what you would expect, right? So to say that, oh well, you know, the fact that there isn't any evidence, and so you have people like Blitz who can't be convinced, like that would mean that that's evidence for, like, no, it can't be evidence if it's also consistent with atheism, right?
You're putting words in my mouth. I don't think that there is no evidence, and I think that if there was no evidence, it'd be very easy to disprove it. And I find myself to be a logical person. I am not looking. As I get further into my religious beliefs, of course, the spiritual side grows, but it all started from a logical point of view. I want to know what is right. If Buddhism is right, I want to be able to.
What was the evidence then?
I mean, so I gave you the Christian spiel. I also think that
but I'm asking for the evidence, right? Not the spiel, the actual evidence.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that the creation of the universe. So my thought process was this: is there a creator? Yes. Which one is which major? You don't have to only look at the major religions, but I would.
Sorry, how is this evidence?
I think that the universe points that to the structure and fabric of the universe points to a creator. How
do you figure? How is the universe being a certain way evidence for a God existing?
In your experience, has anything? Or let me ask you this. Do you not find it to be probabilistically more likely that something created the universe is sitting on a pin on top of like it is, if gravity was 1/1,000,000th difference in measurements,
that's false, by the way. That's false.
What can explain to me?
Yeah, so gravity could be about 100 times stronger or about 100 million times weaker, and you could still have life in the universe.
Not on Earth, though.
Well, yeah, you would just have life elsewhere. Earth would just be a different thing.
But gravity's only one.
That's
variable.
The one you brought up.
Of course, but like I don't.
And
have
by the way, gravity. It's like the gravitational strength on Earth. You could double it, and life would still be life could still exist on Earth. You could divide it in two, and life could still exist on Earth. There's no issue there.
The structure of the universe, right, is so intelligently designed, is the way I would describe it. Or so. That's
an assertion. What's the evidence of that?
Right, and I think that the evidence of that is that we have structure. You know.
Okay, so how does that mean that there's a designer? there's a creator.
In
Like,
your experience, has structure ever come from randomness?
yeah, go into a cave where there's crystals. You'll see super orderly crystals, and that just comes from water dripping from the ceiling.
Okay. I mean, that's a fair point. I don't think that that's necessarily randomness, right? I think that the cave has a ecosystem that causes that outcome.
Well, in that case, then I don't think that there is any randomness, if that's the standard that you're using.
In reference to the universe, right?
Yeah,
So,
I don't think that anything's random. It's just following laws of physics and biology and chemistry and stuff like this.
Okay, and I think that those laws are so precise, right, that it points to a creator.
How do you figure? Like what's the evidence that connects the laws and like you said that there's evidence, but you're just like kind of giving me vibes that like, oh, like the laws are like this way, and so like that makes me feel like there should be a creator. Like what's the actual evidence?
Yeah, I mean, so you take the defensive if you wouldn't mind. So then can you point to me the evidence that that these laws can be precisely created or not created, but precisely random? How about that?
I don't know what you mean. I don't think that the laws are random.
Okay, but so if nothing created them, then how did they come to be, right?
Well, I said, I think that there was never nothing. Maybe I didn't say that to you. I don't think that there was ever nothing. So this is not something like things that have never been created typically don't need explanations for how they came about, because they never came about. They've always existed in some sense.
So eternal, right?
Not or eternal or timeless, right?
Okay. So semantics, but I think
not semantics, but
I mean a bit.
Eternal and timeless are different words, and they mean different things.
Well, timeless, the absence, the difference I think that you would make is that timeless just means existing in the span of all of time, but not outside of that.
No, timeless means existing without time, in the absence of time.
Okay, right. So anyways, I don't even remember what we were talking about.
I was asking you for evidence because you said that there was.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a reason why these conversations continue. I think the evidence is not hard. I think there is some level of interpretation to it. Like, for me, structure points to a creator. I think the evidence points to that. The probabilities, right? For me, it's more of a probability, right?
How do you establish the probabilities here? Like, what are you actually doing? It just seems like you're just like, well, it seems unlikely. On what grounds?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the game, right? Because when I look at the things that are around
So it's vibes?
No, it's not a vibes, right? But the things that are around me more often than not, and I think almost always, the structure comes from something that created it.
That's because you live in a world that's like super technological. If you lived 5,000 years ago, you would not be saying that.
Because of your cave example?
Just because the natural world is like super structured and super orderly, and we don't have any reason to think that those things were created.
I disagree with you. I think that because of how super structured and super orderly they are, I think it does point to a creator. Because I think that if it was based on randomness, I'll put it this way, right? You
keep saying random is not the opposite of having a creator, right? These are not the opposites. Again, not a true dichotomy.
So how would you describe it? Because I don't really, I guess,
created
understand.
or not created.
Okay,
or perhaps we could say designed or not designed. That's probably
and I
better.
think this is the semantics that we keep running into the problem here. Is you keep saying not created, and that keeps making me think. So you think that it's always been here, eternal, but then you keep saying no.
I mean, I shouldn't say created. I should say designed. So designed or not designed, right?
Okay.
Because in principle, you could create something randomly, right? And so you could create something.
Well, that's why I keep saying randomness.
Well, you could create something randomly. You could create something not random. You could create something.
Then it gets created randomly, and that's my point.
So the true dichotomy is designed or not designed. Now, the question of whether or not the order or the structure that we see in the universe requires design, that's the thing that you can't make. Like, I'm asking for the evidence that there's a connection between the two.
I mean, yeah, I cannot prove to you that the structure.
I don't want proof. I want evidence.
Well, I think that again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, so I don't want to keep saying the same damn thing. I think that the needle that the universe sits on, like that it's balanced on, is pretty. It might be funny to you, but I know you believe it to be true. Like whether
No,
you
I
believe
don't.
whether you believe. So do you think that in all of the so you know combination probabilities, right? So if you flip a
Yes.
coin twice, right? Okay, so you have a what's it called? You have a space of 4 possibilities. If you flip a coin twice, heads, tails, tails, heads, tails, tails. Okay, so let's take that thought experiment a little bit further with the possibilities of the universe, right? So we have a space, right, of possible outcomes.
Yeah.
Do
Okay.
you think
What makes up the space of possible outcomes?
Any way the universe could have gone.
Well, yeah. What are the different ways the universe could have gone?
Well, I'm going to leave your imagination to that, but starting from the Big Bang would be my preference, right? Because I think that's we can have a common ground there. Okay, so starting from there, all possible branches of the universe, possible outcomes, right? How many of those probabilities do you think ended up in this one? In my opinion, much less likely than.
So you're making 2 mistakes. First, you're assuming that like the universe is not deterministic, right? Which is a mistake that you should make, that you're making. But secondly, you're making a survivorship bias, a survivorship bias fallacy, which basically you're saying, what are the odds that it ended up exactly like this? Well, perhaps the odds are quite low, but it could have just ended up a different way with different intelligent things, and they would be asking the exact same question. Why they'd be like, oh, what are the odds that from the Big Bang we got our planet Glorp Glorp and the Phlebians evolved into 6-legged tentacle monsters? What are the odds of that?
Right. And I think you're doing exactly what you are accusing me of doing, which is providing no evidence.
I'm not providing evidence. I'm critiquing your argument. Your argument is making fallacious assumptions, and it's making fallacious logical errors too.
This is why I said defense. I mean, there could be survivorship bias. I don't.
No, it's explicitly a survivorship bias issue that you just made.
It would be explicit. It would be explicit in the case that you could prove to me, which you can't.
That's not survivorship bias. I'm sorry. That's it's a name for another thing. It's similar to anthropic reasoning. It is how it can be resolved anyway.
I mean,
essentially, you're asking
is similar. So
essentially, you're asking, what are the odds that we ended up on a planet like ours where we could survive? And given a sufficiently large universe, the odds are 100%.
No, I disagree with you, not because of the large size of the universe, because you're also negating the variables of all of the laws of physics that require the universe to stay together.
But you already gave us the Big Bang. Why are we talking about the laws of physics? Those already were in place.
And
we're kind of moving the goalposts
right?
now.
Right. But maybe that's my mistake to give you the Big Bang. I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily assumed, but you're probably right, that they need to be in place at that point in time. So prior to that, does that change the conversation? I don't know. My point is that to be on the defense of the argument, you don't have to provide evidence. You can just say that.
Look, you didn't have to give evidence. You said that there was, and then you failed to do so. You failed to give evidence.
Well, but that's the way that I would think about it, right? In the evidence is that the probabilistic outcome is that in all outcomes of the universe, the chances that we ended up with life and that the universe didn't implode on itself quickly after it begun, that it's much more likely that because of this path that it was designed to be this way, right?
So
That's the dichotomy you keep giving me is design or not design.
Yeah, sure. My question is, how do you know what the probability is?
I don't know.
Or what's the evidence that the probability is small?
Because of the amounts of variables. So then, because there's, and I don't even know the total number, but I know them to be very large, right? And so
there's
because
like 19 numbers that you're thinking of.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, but even if we did 19, it would be like, 2 to the 19th power, which is a pretty big number, right? For this to have happened.
Wait a minute. No, you're making a mistake again. You're assuming you know what the space of possibility is without knowing what you don't even have evidence for what the space of possibility is.
This would be like, it's impossible to prove. It's impossible to prove the space of possibility, but we know that number is probably large.
No, we don't. We don't know anything about it.
I would assume that if you think that this would have happened almost no matter what, that you have to agree with me that you think this space is large, because you said in an infinitely large universe that we would have ended up here 100% of the time. So then we have to agree that the population space is large. We have to.
So you're conflating two things now. So the population space for planets is potentially infinitely large. If the universe is very, very big, so it's at least like, there's trillions upon trillions of planets, but maybe it's infinitely many. The population space for the constants that govern the laws of physics, we have no information about that. These are two different population spaces.
No, exactly, but I'm not talking.
So don't conflate them.
I'm talking about the population space of planets, or in short, in the expansion of the universe, right? The growth, the timeline of the universe, which is really the expansion.
But then why'd you bring up like the constants and the laws and stuff?
Exactly.
Seems like you're shifting.
The constants of physics
Mm-hmm.
point to me that for all 19 to be true, right? And I'm making an assumption here, but the only way for life to have inhabited a planet is for all 19 to be in line, right? And so
suppose that's true.
Okay, so
suppose that's true. What is the space of possible ways that it could have been?
I don't know how many possible ways the constants could have been, right? But
right, nobody does. Nobody has even like a smidgen of evidence that it could have been any other way.
Listen to me for 1 second. If we know that the expansion or the timeline of the universe's possible outcomes are very large, infinitely large, right? Then we can assume that those constants that live within the universe are also to have been infinite.
No, you're getting it backwards. So, look, given the initial conditions, if you have different initial conditions, then you could have different outcomes, even with the same constants. So you can have if you have different initial conditions, then you can have different outcomes, even given the same constants.
Right,
and so please, I'm in the middle of a sentence. So look, the point is you could have a very, very small range of possible constants, or maybe even no range at all. Maybe that's the only way it could be. And you could still have trillions of different planets, given that they had different conditions under which they formed.
Right. So the space which the constants live, whether it's a range, whether it's infinite, whether it's constant, they are a part of the space of possible universal outcomes, right?
Yeah, because we don't know how big that space is.
Exactly, but so we don't know whether the constants live within the expanding their timeline.
No, you're making a mistake. They don't live with. They're in a separate type of space. They're in like an abstract mathematical state space or configuration space.
No,
they don't,
because the universe timeline takes account those constants, right?
So you're getting the causation backwards.
Hold on.
Just because the constants have is it conceivable that the universe could have a fixed range of constants, but an infinitely or a nearly infinitely large range of possible planets? Is that conceivable?
I'll give you the example. So either these.
Wait, can you answer the question just with a yes or no, and then you can give me the example?
Okay. So what was the question again?
Is it conceivable that that the constants couldn't have been any other way, meaning that the range is 0, and yet still have an infinite number of possible different planets?
No, I disagree.
That's not okay. Then you're just mistaken. You're just mistaken. You don't understand how dynamics works.
If there is no range for them, I think that points to a design, right?
That wasn't my question.
Built that way.
That was my question.
But I think that answers the question that we're asking.
No, my question was about planets, not about design.
I understand, but if the range is 0, okay, then there is not an infinite amount of possible outcomes
of planets. Right? So you don't think that you could have an infinitely large universe filled with infinitely many planets if the range is 0?
I'm talking about planets. Yes, but
okay, that was my question. So you could have a fixed range, a very, very small range of possible outcomes, while still having an infinite range of planets, for example.
Yes, of course.
So the relationship between the number of possible ways the planets could be and the number of possible ways the constants could be are not tied together.
Okay, but you have to understand something, that there is a universe which is created on these constants being, let's just call them all zero, right? That universe is probably void of nothing. It's probably just prior to the Big Bang, just empty. But that's one possible outcome in the space that we're talking about.
No, we don't know if that's a possible outcome. That's the point.
I'm saying that there's like 3 tiers of outcomes, and I'm calling one of those a tier, right?
Why do you think that's possible? Why do you think that that's a possible outcome that it could have been?
Okay, so you don't think that there was a possible outcome that the universe just never got started? Like
no,
that
I don't think that that's possible.
Okay, I would argue that points to creator. But why do you think that?
I think that the idea, I think that the concept of nothingness is not something that can coherently exist. And so you must have had something.
Let's not go nothingness. Let's go with just life then. Okay, there's a possible that the other 2 tiers was one with life and one without life. So
yeah, I'm not convinced that there could have been a way the constants could be that wouldn't have allowed. Right, I'm not convinced that it's possible.
And I think that you are just going based on vibes on that.
No, I'm going based off of evidence, or rather the lack thereof.
What evidence points to that?
The point is, there is no evidence that the universe could have been any other way, and there is evidence that the universe is this way, which means that the only evidence we have is that universes can be this way. We don't have any evidence that universes can be any other way.
I mean, the defensive side is so good. I'm gonna have to learn that from you from this combo. Okay.
I'm going to let you go, Nate, because you've been on for over an hour, or just about an hour.
And I appreciate the time, but I think the last point that I was going to make is for those constants, to my point of view, you can disagree, but my point of view is if those constants had to all be true, then it's 2 to the 19th, right, for all of them, which is a very large number. And so then the probability just becomes very, very small that it really could have been random. But that's my point of view. Appreciate the time.
Okay, thanks for being here, Nathan. It seems like he ignored the bit that we were just talking about, that we don't have evidence that they could have been any other way. So like the state space isn't necessarily 2 to the 19th, it could be 1 to the 19th. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's move on. Oh, we have some super chats to read, and then let's move on to the next guest. Yeah, that was a headache, a headache and a half, if you will. He came in really hot. So Game Master Flash with the $5 says, oops, with the $5 says, wake me up when this guy gets near a point. Sorry. From Skylar with the 7 Canuck bucks. I Blitz, watch this most days. I just finished my PhD program in quantum information. Congrats. Super proud of you, Skylar. That's a huge deal, and you should be proud of yourself. From Colin Stalker with the 5 British pounds. Phew, you're getting all the full-on brainwash people today. Coming in hard and rude. Not a single one has a convincing point. Love you, Blitz. Well, I appreciate that, Colin. Sorry, I missed another one. From Game Master Flash again with the $5. Oh, another one of those God is tricking you guys. No, I don't think that he was. I don't think that he was doing that. Then from Nobody on Fire with the $6.66. Hail Satan. Blitz, your eternal soul is a game for God, so you must worship him. For being an intellectual toddler, hope this helps. I don't understand. Is this guy like a hate watcher? I don't understand. But thank you for the $6.66 regardless. All right, let's move on to our next guest. Oh, actually, I got a cash app from Shay for Glorp Glorp and the Fleebians. Thank you, Shay, for the $20 cash app. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Big bucks. And let me just double check and make sure I didn't miss anything else either. All right. He's a friendly. Okay, good. Good. Oh, and then we have $2 from Lemon Lime Lad, another atheist debater I can give my money to. Well, I will take your money. Thank you. All right, let's talk to Austin.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, Austin. How's it going?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. My blood pressure's probably a little bit high, but I'm okay.
Well, hopefully we can put it down a little bit. Okay, so my argument would be, I'm
just
Christian,
to be clear, you believe in God, right? Okay, yeah, great.
Christian, Jesus, yes. So when it comes to like how the Bible came together. So over different years, and are you accepting that a lot of the Old Testament was written before Jesus and it wasn't written after Jesus, so the
Yeah, yeah,
story
yeah.
wasn't like. So then, have you? I don't know. I haven't watched a bunch of your stuff. I've seen a couple of your things over the past couple weeks, but have anyone brought up the kind of fulfillment of all the prophecies and how people wrote about Jesus before Jesus came, and then Jesus came and fulfilled said prophecies?
People do bring it up. I'm fairly convinced that he like didn't fulfill any. Because I have a good friend who's much more well-read on the Bible than I am, who makes that claim, and I'm want to believe him. But if you want to bring up some like prophecies, I guess you could if you wanted to. But like, suppose for a moment that he did fulfill, I don't know, 50 prophecies. Would that be enough to convince you, or should that be enough to convince me that God is real?
Not in itself. It's just kind of like something to look into further in the sense of, um, is there a creator? Is there not a creator? Is God or Jesus the right one, or is another religion the right one? It all has to come down to some logical reasoning, and so it's just one of those points. I'm like, okay, it's worth looking into at least.
Well, so
No, that's not proof per se in itself.
So the way I see it, like, I know that the Hebrew Bible was written, you know, between 2,800 years ago and like 2,100 years ago or so. You know, it was written over the course of a few hundred years, 700 years, something like this. And then the New Testament, the rest of the Christian Bible, was written, you know, over the next like 300 years, 200 years ish, depending on who you ask. You know, starting around the time that Jesus lived, maybe 10 or 15 years after, to maybe 100 years after. And so it just seems to me that, like, look, if it's the case that there are descriptions of Jesus fulfilling a certain prophecy, then, like, why wouldn't I just expect that, like, yeah, the people writing this were familiar with the prophecies, and so they would write him if their goal was to, you know, influence people to join the group, and then their goal would be to write him as if he were fulfilling the prophecies, right?
Touche. I think if you really go into study now, there's 300 something prophecies. I mean, I can probably Google it right now. It's like 362 or something. And I've looked into it a while ago, which was part of my journey to believing in God and Jesus. Is just kind of it made logical sense and statistical probabilities. And there's even some mathematicians that have done statistical probabilities of someone coming in and fulfilling all those prophecies in that way, because some things were out of his control, like where he'd be born, etc.
The question is, did he actually fulfill any, right? Or was it just written so that it would appear as if he was?
Yeah, so you're saying you could write it as if, because we know what the prophecies were, so you just write it as if we're fulfilling what already existed in a previous written text a couple hundred years ago. So
I mean, like,
I understand.
Like, if I were to go find all of like the times where like Star Trek: The Next Generation fulfilled prophecies from the original series, it would probably be on the order of hundreds. Right? Because like the writers for the Next Generation grew up watching that show. So like, of course there were going to be callbacks and references and prophecies fulfilled and like predictions made true. Like, of course. I don't know. It just seems like this is exactly what you expect for authors who were,
I think it's a little
writing this.
But I see your point, and I don't have a really clear way to explain how it's different than that. But so then to go into kind of miracles in life, I think the only two other things I want to say that hasn't already been kind of discussed and before, and maybe a little bit understanding your point of view, because I was listening to the whole past two people.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was interesting, but I don't think I understand your position on where life came from. It's like how did I guess in maybe even intelligent life or something. I mean, sure, there could have been like some little organism somewhere. I'm not sure, but I don't know how you view did life, complex life, just always exist from scratch, ground zero, or did something happen to create complex
I mean,
life?
like, look, I'm not a biologist, so like I'm not going to have like definitive technical knowledge on this. But my understanding is like it at least seems plausible that, you know, life is chemistry at the end of the day, right? Like it's chemical reactions taking place inside cells, and then there's diffusion, and like it is chemistry. So it seems super plausible to me that given the right initial conditions, like, you know, the right temperature, the right pressure, the right chemicals, whatever, it seems like that it's plausible that very, very simple life could arise spontaneously. And once you have life, then, you know, you can have natural selection, evolution, et cetera, taking over, and then you can wind up with a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay. And so I think maybe the next 2 points will kind of unfortunately bring us somewhat full circle. It might be a fairly quick one. Because I am trying to be logical, but at the same time, understand viewpoints. I'm open-minded to understanding viewpoints. I'm open-minded to being wrong.
I appreciate that.
But at the same time, I haven't found a convincing enough argument for atheism or agnosticism or anything. And it just seems to make more sense as there's a creator. And I think you understand kind of how that can come to a logical conclusion of some kind. Maybe you disagree, but I think you hopefully understand.
Look,
And so when it comes to, oh yeah, what were you saying?
yeah, so I mean, like, I think that humans have a lot of cognitive biases, right? Like, there are a lot of things that like are kind of inbuilt into our psychology, like for kind of obvious reasons, right? If you were like on the savannah, like in, you know, early proto-humans or whatever, and you heard a rustling in the bushes, if you thought, it's probably nothing, and then just went about your day, then you might get eaten by a tiger. On the other hand, if it was nothing, but you thought it was a tiger, then you're none the worse for wear. And so like humans have evolved to have a whole bunch of different cognitive biases about like the way that we interpret the world around us. And so I can 100% understand why it might seem like more plausible. It might just like something about it might just like feel like it's more likely to be true. About, I should have said a lion, not a tiger, I'm sorry. About like saying, oh, well, you know, it would make more sense if this was explained by a divine being or whatever. But I think that that's more about like the way human psychology is, and rather than like the way it actually is. Rather than the way the probabilities actually are.
Yeah, we might get close to that. So then with like evolution, let's say chemistry, life, it all kind of came about, and evolution, you would think, and maybe this is where you can help me understand more of I don't know if it's your viewpoint or just another viewpoint, but why is the fossil record not so much better to kind of prove evolution, where we'd see all these little micro transitions and macro transitions, and we'd see kind of an evolution of millions and millions of years of living things just kind of evolving? How come it's so hard to prove evolution? It's still like a scientific theory versus a law.
So
why is the fossil record not better?
So I mean, there's kind of a few things to address there. First, the fossil record is like it's enormous. Like, we have so many fossils. That said, the fossilization as a process is rare, and it doesn't happen in every environment. And so even though we have, you know, I'm pulling a number out of my ass, but at least millions of fossils of different organisms across different times, even though we have those, that's likely less than 1% of all of the organisms that have ever existed. In fact, like, we know it's less than 1% because, you know, trillions of organisms have existed. So most of the animals that have ever died never fossilize. So they're going, like, expecting that there will occasionally be gaps, or that we won't have fossils in abundance of a particular organism is entirely expected. Like, again, fossilization requires the right conditions to happen. But more than that, it seems like you have like a view about what a theory is, and theories don't get promoted to laws. It's not a thing that's ever happened in the history of science. Theories are just a collection of explanations that hold up well against the data. And so as far as evolution is concerned, it's not like a guess. It's not like something that we don't have like stand-up evidence for. Like, we have overwhelming evidence for it. It's just, we call it a theory because a theory is a collection of explanations that have good evidence for them. I mean, like, if you want to look no further, you could look at like endogenous retroviruses. Have you heard about these?
No.
So endogenous retroviruses are like they're like the smoking gun for paternity tests. Do you know how like paternity tests work? Like, you test the DNA of like the son or the daughter, and you test the DNA of the father, and if they match, then like you're good. So
yeah.
Importantly, if they match, then that means that the man is related to the child, right? So endogenous retroviruses are like a surefire way of checking whether two things are related. So I don't have to go into the details, but essentially there are snippets of DNA that get embedded into a single organism by a virus. It's called a retrovirus. So imagine that like you catch a virus and it, by whatever the odds are, it infects the cells in your testicles. I'm assuming you have them, but I shouldn't. But it infects the cells in your testicles,
Sure.
right? And then, as a result, the sperm that it produces have a little snippet of that viral DNA that gets passed on to your children. And then their children pass on that snippet of DNA to their children, and their children pass on that DNA to their children, and so on. So anybody that has that exact snippet of DNA, you could know with 100% certainty is related to you, right? You don't have to like compare the entire DNA sequence. You just have to know like if they have that exact snippet, we know exactly where it came from. It came from that one time that virus infected you and only you. And so you can imagine that if evolution were true, then you could have, you could have some like proto-humanoid thing that's like the ancestor of both humans and chimpanzees. And if one of those caught one of these viruses, infected its testes, and it is the ancestor of all humans and all chimpanzees, then you would expect to find a snippet of that virus in every single human alive, and a snippet of that virus in every single chimpanzee alive. And you'd be able to know that they both came from the same ancestor. And when we go and we do DNA analyses, we don't just find one snippet, we find thousands of identical snippets between chimpanzees and humans, meaning that there were thousands of times in the ancestral past where one organism got a virus in their, in their ovaries or in their testes or whatever, and then that got passed down. And then the next descendant also caught a different virus, and then that got passed down. And all of those snippets of DNA got passed down to all of their descendants. And I just, like, if we trust paternity tests, then we better be trusting that evolution is real according to these viruses that we find in our DNA.
I'll have to look into that further. I just haven't heard that one before. So I'll have to look into that.
It's like, when evolution was first proposed in like the 1800s or whatever, like they didn't know anything about DNA, right? They didn't know how DNA worked. And so like,
without the DNA argument, it seems very weak. The DNA argument's a relatively, I'll have to kind of dive into it, but it's better. But it seems like in the past, evolution seems just hokey.
Well, maybe right when Darwin proposed it, maybe you would have thought it's hokey, but like then we found, all of the anatomical and fossilized evidence. And then after the discovery of DNA, and then later in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we figured out this whole endogenous retrovirus stuff, and we're like, oh, that's like smoking gun evidence for evolution. And so like it's not even in question now. It wasn't even in question 100 years ago, but like we're as certain that evolution is true as we are that the sun is going to rise tomorrow.
I'll look into that. I'm not quite where you are yet, but I haven't dove into that side of evolution's theory.
Go read into it. Just whatever you do. I'm going to give just some advice. Don't read into it on like answers in Genesis. Just go find like a biology textbook or something, or like, just some review article, or just something that like a scientist who doesn't really have a skin in the game, just like go read or even just go to the Wikipedia article on endogenous retroviruses. That they have a policy of being neutral and all that. So,
yeah. And now here's a little interesting thing though. So
go ahead.
Let's say evolution is, just for sake of argument, real quick. I have one more point to make, and then I'm out of here. Let's say evolution is correct. Let's say it is correct. I don't think it necessarily disproves God, though. I think God could have used
it absolutely doesn't. No, you're 100% right. There are a lot of people who believe in God who also think that evolution is true. In fact, the majority of people who think evolution is true believe in God, right?
Okay, yeah. And so at least we're there. Either way, it's kind of doesn't really solve the God question, but it's at least that component per se. But so then the last one, past the prophecies aspect, which I think would be worth looking into the complexity of that, because I think that's where a lot of people finally do. And I think I might be wrong, but I think it was C.S. Lewis or someone tried to disprove Christianity and then became a Christian trying to disprove it. And I think the prophecies were part of that.
I don't think C.S. Lewis was ever not a Christian. I think he was like,
it might have been,
I think he was born a Christian.
There was someone that tried.
He was born in Ireland. He was born in Ireland. He was absolutely a Christian, right?
Who tried to disprove? I'm just going to Google it real quick.
Yeah, sure. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Christianity, and then became a Christian. There's a famous person, so I bet Google's AI will probably just pop it right up. Uh, Lee Strobel. It's not the one I was thinking of. though.
I know who. I'm familiar with Lee Strobel.
Yeah, it's not the one I was thinking of. There's someone else, but okay, I can't find it easily right now, so we'll
You're
just.
fine.
But basically, I think that's a good one. But the other one is miracles. So now, miracles, obviously, in the Bible, sure, you can't use the Bible as proof for itself. That doesn't really work. So then there is something out there, and I'm not Catholic, but the Catholic Church has this whole process of tracking some miracles. I think there's like 70 confirmed miracles that they tracked where they have medical examiners and everything come in saying, hey, is this under the realm of reality? Is this under our physical laws of nature? Can this be explained by any normal sense? Have you ever had anyone talk about that, or have you
Yep.
ever looked that up?
Yeah, so in fact, there's a really famous one that people bring up a lot, which is there was like a something about what's it called, the little cracker that the Catholics eat?
Oh, the
Eucharist
or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, well, there was this miracle that where the Eucharist was claimed to have turned into literal tissue, like literal heart tissue, and the confirmation process that they went through to confirm this, they brought it to a Catholic heart doctor who had retired 15 years earlier and who had a history of writing. Like he stopped being a heart doctor, if I remember correctly, and he became like a journalist, but like kind of like a Christian journalist, and he started writing about that kind of stuff. So that was enough to make it be proof that this is a real miracle that happened. They brought it to like the most biased person in the world.
Yeah, not the best proof.
Like I don't know. I'm just like, if that's the standard. Like,
I didn't look into that one. I didn't read all 70 of them in depth, but I read a couple of them.
That's one that
it was more like
people have brought that up to me a lot. That's the only reason I know that one.
Yeah, it's more like cancer healing and stuff. And like I have one friend too, a personal friend, that had a miracle of cancer, where he was basically going to die with stage 4 cancer, and then he went to his doctor's appointment to start chemotherapy and just clean, just nothing.
Well, wait a minute, but that's not a. How do you know that that's a miracle, right? By miracle,
That's a good question.
So,
I mean,
because like,
yeah, no medical explanation.
Well, sure, but like a miracle means that it's like that it's some divine thing. Like if it's true that the Eucharist literally turned into like a piece of heart tissue, that would be essentially supernatural. But like if it's just like a guy went into spontaneous remission, this like happens all the time. It's rare. It's like most of the people who have stage 4 cancer, like late stage 4 cancer, die. But like most of the people. But like it does happen fairly frequently, like 1 or 2% of cases or something like this. So I think that that's just like biology. I don't know how that's a miracle.
It's just something we haven't fully answered in science biology.
Yeah,
yet.
or
It's
it
just
was
an
a
unknown.
misdiagnosis, right? Or like, I mean, look, there's like the human body is complicated. I don't see how this means that it's a miracle though. Like it's miraculous in the colloquial sense that like, oh wow, what are the odds of this happening? That's so
Yeah, but
great.
can you prove its divinity?
But is it like supernatural? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah,
and like when the Catholics say that there are miracles, they're not referring to like the kind of thing that you're talking about. They're referring to like the Eucharist did this, or like there was an apparition that 100 people saw flying above a church, or like they're talking about like stuff that is not physically possible, right? Not just like rare biological things happening.
Okay. So then, yeah, so I think ultimately, my belief system and your belief system, just as us two human beings here on this conversation, we're just looking at, we're putting our eggs in what we can calculate as more logical in each of our senses. And you might have some more mathematical answers, and I might have a little bit more faith-based answers. I think both of us would have both, though. I mean, you're having some faith in your point of view, because otherwise you'd be able to prove easily to a lot of people and make bajillion dollars proving everyone wrong that you have the right answer of the world. So there's some faith in your aspect, not faith in God, just faith in your belief system of how the world or the universe came to be, per se. And I have some faith that it was created by an intelligent design.
It's not.
But,
it's
yeah,
not
both
faith.
of us can't.
So I'm just So generally, and I don't know about you, I just, it's strange when people try to assert that I have faith. Like, look, there are things that I have evidence for, and those things, those are the things that I will believe are true. Like, you know, I have evidence that like the sun will rise tomorrow because it rose yesterday, and there's certain regularities in our universe that say that things that happened yesterday are likely to happen tomorrow, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's evidence that the sun will rise tomorrow, right? And so I believe that the sun will rise tomorrow. But then there's things that I don't have evidence for, and I just try to be agnostic about those. I'm like, look, I don't have empirical data that says what caused the Big Bang or what was before the Big Bang. If there was a before the Big Bang, I don't know. I can speculate, but like I genuinely don't have like a belief about these things. So like I just don't know. Like I think that the right move is to, like, if you don't have evidence for something, if you don't have a reason to believe something, like either logical reasoning or some sort of like empirical justification, then just be agnostic. I don't see where the faith is in that.
Okay, touche. That's fair. I'll give you that. It's fair. So yeah, so I think, I mean, I'm not going to belabor the point. I think the aspect of the complexity as the past, which I'll give you an ability to answer this real quick, and then I'll hop off and let you talk to someone else. But I think similar to the last person, which I don't want to belabor that point though, in the sense of the complexity of this world, the complexity of the balance of everything. And I'm not going to just say the tilt or the gravity thing like he was saying or whatever, but just everything put together, all how the plants and the carbon dioxide and all of our elements in the elemental table, and just how everything is so relatively balanced and relatively perfect. Sure, there can be some variations, like you mentioned. Maybe you can have twice the amount of gravity and everything could still sort of work. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's probably some range where it could be true. I don't know when it eventually collapses on itself, but maybe it's 3 times, 4 times, who knows. But I think still the complexity of the world seems quite clearly, and I guess that's our biggest disagreement, that there's an intelligent creator design versus kind of a naturalistic evolution of things. And that's where I'm just, unless you can kind of really tell me why it makes so much sense for the complexity of DNA, the complexity for plants and elemental tables, and the complexity of the earth and the balance of water, and how everything just comes together, it doesn't seem to make sense that that could have happened just by random, not chance, but um, and random is maybe not the right word, but just, I think you know what I'm trying to get at. I don't see it logically just happening. I don't know what the
Look,
word
so
is.
if we don't understand how something happened, because look, I, again, not a biologist, not a chemist, I don't know how like life originated. I'm sure if I talk to a biologist or chemist, they could probably give me some answers, but I don't know. So it just seems like the better answer is to be like, yeah, I don't know, rather than saying, well, I don't know, therefore it must be a god that did it.
That's yeah, and I guess we're both kind of respecting each other's beliefs there, where you go, I don't know, there's not a god, and I go, I don't know, and I think there is a god. And then I like the morals, I like the teachings, I like the, it makes sense. I think the whole way that the Bible lays out life and everything just makes sense to me, so I choose to live that way. And then I guess at the end of the day, which I really don't like to end on this point, but I guess it does kind of match with what we're talking about, which is, if I don't have an answer, I'm looking to, whether you say our brain chemistry is wired to believe in the supernatural or something, I'm leaning towards there's a creator, you're leaning towards there's not a creator for things that we don't have answers for. But then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, if I'm wrong, whoopsie, okay, I go to the same place you do, which is, who knows?
Not necessarily. What if you're wrong about atheismo?
What do you mean?
Atheismo is a possible god that only sends atheists to heaven and sends everybody else to hell.
Oh, okay. Nice. Well, I mean, sure, but I just don't see that being nearly as realistic as either of our two arguments.
I don't see any. Well, I see it being equally realistic as your argument. I don't think atheism is real. I definitely don't think atheism is real. But like, it seems like they're both equally. It seems like I could just make atheismo, and literally all I would have to do is change a few words in the Bible, and it would support my view rather than yours.
I don't know about that. I mean, the Bible's a pretty accurate historical. Would you at least say it's an accurate historical document? Maybe maybe the faith aspect and the God aspect is fiction. You can call it fiction, but is it at least historically accurate?
You might call it historical fiction.
Okay, yeah.
Insofar as, like, it talks about real places that existed, and it talks about like some real people that existed. It gets some things wrong, but I'm not a Bible scholar, so I'm not about to make those big claims, and you have to go anyway. So
Yeah, well, so I think, yeah, I think it's the atheismo or whatever. It's, I think, less likely than our two arguments, but sure, you can try to say it's as equal as
right, but what
mine.
if you're wrong about it? The hell of atheismo is so much worse than the hell of than the Christian hell.
Then I guess people would have to start really understanding and logicking and putting information together to see if that's what they should actually believe in or not.
No, but you shouldn't believe in it. That's the point. Otherwise, you risk going to atheismo hell.
I see what you're doing, but I think you're missing the point essentially, which is I don't see the point in atheism, because, like, why care so much about
Oh,
not having a god or creator
well,
if
look,
it doesn't really
so
do anything for you at the end?
if we lived in Star Trek times, did you ever watch Star Trek?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Star Trek's my favorite. If we lived in the year 2365, or whatever year the Next Generation takes place, when all of the Earth's problems are solved, nobody lives in poverty, there's no war, there's no conflict, everybody just sits down and goes to therapy, and then they play Dom Jot together or whatever. If that was the world we lived in, I probably wouldn't be having these conversations, or at least, they wouldn't seem nearly as urgent. However, we don't live in that world. Instead, we live in a world where there is still religious violence. Religion is still impacting the way that policies are made in governments across the world. And so it seems like if the goal is to stop people from making bad decisions based on unjustified beliefs, then this seems like the right thing to do. It seems like actually not only being an atheist, but promoting atheism seems like it's reasonable.
Okay, so your value proposition for promoting atheism is atheism would have a better moral standard than or all religions, I guess.
I would say in the world we live in, the people that I would trust to take care of me and look after me are secular humanists, not Christians, not Muslims, not Hindus.
And that's a whole different can of worms. But yeah, we won't go into that. But yeah, I appreciate your time. Hopefully I dropped your blood pressure a little bit.
You did. Thank you for being here, Austin. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
All right, let us read some super chats. And then let's we only have one super chat from Aaron Smith with the $2. This is what it says when no message is sent. So just thanks for the $2, Aaron. I appreciate you. All right, let us move on to our next guest. Just making sure that I don't have any special guests that I want to bring up. All right, let us talk to Chopper.
Nice. I'm
hey,
on.
Chopper. How's it going?
Not bad. Not bad, my dude. Not bad.
Glad to hear it. So, do you believe in God?
I do. I do.
And which one, just so I can know where you're coming from?
Well, let's see. How do I explain this? I'm actually kind of excited right now. So I need to kind of gather my thoughts. So which God? Which God?
Like, are you a Christian? Are you a Christian? Look, because like you're a white guy in America, so like my first guess is you're Christian, but I don't want to assume things about you.
No. So I was raised Irish Catholic. I went to Irish Catholic school, but for the longest time, I hated church. I hated everything. ... It doesn't seem consistent with anything. Like the teachings don't seem consistent with the mentality it instills. It seems like, you sit in a pew, you get forgiveness for saying Hail Marys, right? Like, cognitively speaking, how does that dissuade you from being a bad person? If you could commit any sin you want, say 10 Hail Marys, and you're absolved, you're going to do whatever the hell you want eventually.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe. So Chopper, so
9
like,
out of 10 times.
do you believe in like a creator? You just don't know if it is associated with any like
All right,
religion?
so do you want me to just immediately prove God exists, or?
Well, I would like you to tell me what it is you believe rather than giving me your life story, because
so God is, guys, people get hung up on labels. People get hung up on their own mental image. People get hung up on definitions. Like, if heaven exists, 9 out of 10 people, 99 out of 100 people picture it as like in the clouds with angels with wings, wearing togas. Like, that's not how it would be.
Okay, so
right?
so Chopper, can you just tell me what it is you believe? Like, what do you actually
I
believe rather
believe
than
God
what you
is
don't
a
believe?
label. So
Okay.
like I believe God is a label. So God is there would be a God point, meaning our origin point, meaning the point everything came into existence. You could call it the Big Bang, you can call it whatever you want, but that would be like the God point. But then God itself would just it could be anything. It could be a sun god, it could be ... It could be whatever you build it up in your mind to be, right? But if we're talking about like the Christian Catholic God, you're
No,
talking
I just want to
about
know what you believe, Chopper.
I believe all this stuff.
So you believe in the Christian Catholic God?
I believe in every God. Every version of God, yes.
You believe
Yes.
that so you believe that there is a divine mind that created the universe in a metaphysical way and is not a physical thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, but I'm actually not entirely certain. So I do things on a spectrum of probability.
Well,
so
that's
in my
fine.
mind,
So why do you believe it? You don't have to
Why-
be certain.
well,
You
A-
do believe it though. So like, why do you believe
Yeah.
it?
yeah, why do I believe in the physical God?
No, the
Or
non-physical one, the one that created the universe.
The original
Yeah,
point of intelligence and whatnot?
sure.
Yeah. So because logically, there was a first form of intelligence, right? Or are you saying that multitudes of intelligence examples came into existence simultaneously? Like we exist.
Sure. It seems plausible that in the universe as we know it, there was definitely a first. That's plausible.
That would be God, right?
That not necessarily. If it
That
exists
is
within the
that
universe.
when I think of God, that is my so
What
as
if
a
we're-
label.
So if we're the first intelligence in the observable universe, you would say that we're God?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted you to explain why it is you believe that there is a divine mind that created the universe, not
Yeah.
not
So
that.
here's how I view it. If I just tend to believe things and then I do thought experiments, same way Einstein did it, yada yada yada. So we could go back.
I'm sorry. I think that was going nowhere. We have $5 from ABM. Gotta love atheism for fighting against these religious and political agendas. Look, that's the goal, right? And then from Aaron Smith was, hey, how do I talk to you? So there is a link, but I think the link hasn't been working lately, and I need to get that resolved. But you can join on TikTok. And so TikTok's probably the easiest way to do it. Let's talk to user 87320486674. All right, it looks like this person's not connecting. Wait, did somebody just say this? Rest in peace. I got a physics degree because of you and now I'm jobless. RIP. All right, Johnny, how's it going?
Hey, I'm okay, man. And you?
I'm doing all right. Do you believe in God?
Not exactly God, but it's like I believe in a spirituality and maybe like reincarnation.
Okay, but the
And
topic is about God, and if you don't believe in God, then just not on topic.
yeah, but it's not like God is a spirituality because I have had
Right,
evidence for
but
that
that's
reincarnation
not the
stuff. So I don't
right,
know
but
if
that's
you
not the
want to talk.
topic. So goodbye. We got another super chat from Point with the 10 Canuck bucks. Your definition of life and how you look at things is so refreshing and just makes me want to look farther into things you talk about because they make a lot of sense. Look, I appreciate that. That's really wholesome, and I appreciate that. Like, I am inspiring people to look deeper into things. That's like my whole goal here. Like, I have 2 modes. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. Jamie, how's it going?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Do you believe in God, Jamie?
I do.
Great. Which one would that be?
I'm Catholic, so that would be the Christian God.
Okay, cool. What would you say is the most compelling evidence that you could give me that this is a God that's real?
I would say the universe itself.
Can you
The
elaborate on
last
that?
few, yeah. So I believe that everything we experience that everything has a cost. So where I put God, he would be the cause of the universe.
Well, does that mean that God has a cause?
Not necessarily. No.
But I thought you said everything has a cause.
Well, everything in the universe, I mean.
But the universe isn't in the universe.
Well, the universe and everything in itself.
What?
Yeah. Well, your question is, can you convince me to believe in your God? So I have a question. Do you have any other sets of beliefs in your daily life so I can understand what you mean by that?
I mean, I have a lot of beliefs. I have beliefs about a lot of things. Like, I think that, I don't know, I think that stuff exists. I think that, like, the sun exists. I think that certain things are good and certain things are bad. I think that we can come to knowledge through a variety of different ways. I think that the world could be better than it is now. There's a lot of things I believe. Is there a certain category that you were looking for?
Yeah, kind of, but it's the, for example, you said you believe the sun exists. Is that,
Yeah.
can we consider that belief?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the way I understand it, that belief is like when you think something to be true without having the like strong evidence.
So I would call that faith. So I just use
Faith.
belief to mean I have an
Okay.
attitude about a certain sentence or about a certain proposition about whether it's true. So, like, I
Okay.
think something is true or false. I would call that a belief.
Okay, I get you. Well,
But if you meant, do I have faith about anything? I don't think so. But maybe you can come up with an example.
You don't?
I don't think so. At least not in the sense that you used it. I mean, like, people will say, like, you know, you can be faithful in a marriage, but that's like a different sense of the word, right?
Well, I don't think that faith and like trust are the same.
Yeah, right. So in the sense where faith is like a belief without strong evidence, I don't think I have that. But if you can come up with an example, I'd be happy to change my view.
Well, like I said, the universe had a beginning. So you
How
said
do we
earlier
know
that you don't
that?
the Big Bang.
Well, the Big Bang is perhaps the beginning of like the universe as we know it, but I don't know how it's
Yeah.
like the universe, the beginning of like the universe as a whole.
So that would mean that, I mean, is it, how do you call it? Is it the cosmic background? What's it
Cosmic
called?
microwave background radiation. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that the proof that the universe had a like, well, you said not a beginning, but a different state, like an early universe?
So the cosmic microwave background radiation is very, very strong evidence that the Big Bang is real. But the Big Bang doesn't say anything about whether the universe had a beginning.
So it could be, so the universe could exist even before the Big Bang.
Sure. That's at least
we don't-
that's at least like possible. I don't know how we can rule that out.
So that, I mean, that's an origin. Well, no, it's not an origin, but that means that it never had the same state. Do you believe the universe is eternal?
I think it could be. Again, I don't have a strong belief about it because I don't think that we have enough data to make that claim.
Well, like I said, I put God in the it will be the cause why there's something instead of nothing would be like my
I
the reason I believe
But then
in
why
him,
is there
so
God instead of nothing at all?
because nothing can create something.
Well, but look, I mean, it could have just been that there was no universe and no God, right?
It could.
So then why is
Yeah.
there, so in your worldview, why is there something rather than nothing?
Because of God.
But God is one of the things that we need to explain why it exists.
I mean, if we can barely like explain the universe, can you expect to explain God?
Well, maybe not, but look, the point I'm making is that you said, well, God is the reason why there's something rather than nothing. And all I'm saying is you don't know why there's something rather than nothing either. Like, you're right. I mean, well, okay. I think that I can say why there's something rather than nothing. And I think it's because nothing is like an incoherent thing. It doesn't make sense to say that nothing exists. And so you had to have something. There was no other option. But even if I'm mistaken about that, even if it does make sense to say, oh, there could have been nothing, or there could have been something, and so we need to explain why there's something rather than nothing, even if that's true, neither of us have an explanation. You just kind of push the buck back one step.
So wouldn't that mean that both of us are believers? So I believe that God exists and you believe don't. So
well, no, but the point is what I was getting at earlier is that I try to believe things only when I have evidence for them. And in particular, for like the Christian God, I have good reason, I have justification in my view, for believing that God does not exist. So it's not faith. It is justified belief, if you will.
Can you explain me why you don't believe that God exists? I mean,
yeah. So
and also, do you think we know enough to get to that conclusion that he doesn't exist?
Yes, I think we do absolutely know enough. And I think that we knew enough by the time, the early 1900s rolled around. So roughly, if the Christian God is real, then the Christian God must exist outside of space and time because it's the creator of space-time. And if that's the case, then I don't think that God can cause anything. If you don't exist inside of time, then you cannot make things happen. Causing things to happen is something that only happens in time. Right? We think of cause and effects. The causes and the effects are always both in time. So if God is not in time, then it doesn't make sense to talk about God causing the universe to exist.
Would that work if God was in time, but in all of time, which means he would be eternal?
Well,
So
sure, but then God didn't create time.
Okay.
Which I don't think that you can say that if you believe in the Christian God. Because God is supposed to have created all of physical things, and time is a physical thing.
Is it?
Yeah, like we could it bends, it warps, it curves, it has effects on things affect it. It's physical.
No, it's kind of hard to answer that question because it's even hard to explain.
I agree.
Do you have any other question?
No, I think that's it. Jamie, I'm going to let you go because there's somebody in the guest box or somebody I want to pull up into the guest box. But thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I cut him off early. He was nice. He was a nice guy. So I actually want to bring up Havoc. If Havoc is still in the guest box, I want to bring him up. Or if he's still here. Is Havoc still here? Let's bring him up. Come on, Havoc. I know you want to come up. Meanwhile, from XDW Johnson, scientifically speaking, you should use this for some photon juice as recovery from Q-top. Good grief. Yeah, right? Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Oh, did I get a missed call? Okay, I don't know who that's from. It looks like Havoc doesn't want to come up, which is really a bummer because Havoc is being very, very loud in the comments. Which is a shame. All right, so I have like 10 minutes left, and I'm kind of getting a headache. So if Havoc doesn't want to come up, then we might just have to end it there. All right. I think that we're going to end it there then, because I don't have a whole lot of time. And, you know, like I would stay up longer for Havoc if he wanted to come up, but, you know, it seems like Havoc doesn't want to come up because he's a coward, I guess. Is he a coward? If you're watching this, by the way, on YouTube at some later date, make sure to join the Discord so long as you're 18 plus. There's a link in the description down there. All right, y'all. It looks like Havoc is being a coward, so we will end it there. Thank you guys so much for being here, for watching. You guys are great. And make sure to go subscribe to the second channel on YouTube. It's called Dr. Blitz Debunks. That's where all of the live streaming clips will be. That's where all of the horizontal streaming is. So you should definitely go there. Make sure to subscribe. You should definitely join the Discord if you're 18 years or older, because then you can ask me questions there, and you can talk to me, and you can talk to other people, like-minded people. And then the YouTubers and the TikTokers can talk at the same time to each other. We got one more super chat. Oh, we have two more super chats. From Jao Barros, which I don't know what kind of currency that is, but it's 10 of it. Hey, to participate in this discussion, what kind of God is allowed? Would a universe, energy with spiritual entities and reincarnation qualify? If not, why? Yeah, so it's a good question. Generally, I mean God in some sort of minimally Western sense, because that's the world we live in, right? Like if your view of God is just not what most people who speak English mean, then it's just like we're going to be talking past each other. I also think that I also think the distinction between like atheism and the kind of like the existence of like a universal energy, I think that distinction is very, very blurry. Whereas the distinction between atheism and someone who believes that there exists a God in the Western sense is very much an actual distinction, right? And so there's something to talk about. And from Sam and my family with the $5, and say, quote, the truth is from your Lord. Then whoever so wills, let him believe, and whoever so wills, let him disbelieve. You are welcome in Muslim word. Well, thank you, I guess, for the $5. Anyway, y'all, we're going to end it there. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for Ask